Good morning again to Valley FM. It's Monday again, which means we're back, which also means it's Monday, today the 8th of June. That means we're very close to the end of the year, in academic terms, of course, for us, people who, both educators, I think, and students, everybody who is part of the education system. For us, New Year is every 1st of September. And New Year's Eve, as it were, the year for us ends in somewhere in June. It depends on the calendar, really, when they decide it's over or not. So for us this year, New Year's Eve, as it were, is the 23rd of June. The 23rd of June. That is the mark, really, the finish line. And we're looking forward to that, really. So today, as very similarly to what we had last Monday. If you will remember, because I do have some classes I need to teach, even though I do it here with YouTube. I have first my third of ESO B. I'll be speaking about job opportunities with them today, because I want to show how people these days, the people who are in the start line, as it were, ready to go in the next generation or so into the job market, as we say in Spanish sometimes. So yeah, I want to know what they think about their job opportunities and life in general as an adult, as it were. We will also have I also have my fourth ESO students debate about school uniforms. After that would be more or less at 10. Even though I haven't had the time to make a good description of the timetable for today, I'm telling you now, and I will change it at some point later. We will change it at some point later. So, Monday again. Good morning, guys. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going? Thank you for joining me again today. I think it's amazing that you keep coming, even though, you know, how do you feel motivation-wise? In terms of motivation, in terms of how much you want to come. Keep coming, and when I say coming, I mean waking up at the right time to basically just connect to a video call, but still be there on the other side. How do you feel in those terms?
I don't mind, like I already wake up at 8 every single day, so I need something to do.
Yeah, great. So that this gives you something to do at least, yeah?
Yes.
Good. What about you, Diego?
I don't know. I think I like coming to the class and talk.
Good. That's good. I mean, keeping a routine also helps with quarantine, because even though now, as of today, actually, we are in stage 2 of the D lockdown, as it were, on lockdown, which is really positive for us on a personal scale. But most of our day happens at home still nowadays, because we can't go to school or work or so yeah, I think it helps that you have a routine. But your parents are home. I never asked you if your parents were at home or not.
Yeah.
They are there with you? Okay. Do you think it would be different if things would be different if they weren't there?
No, I think
no. And what
about
about in the last few months, in the last 3 months that we've because as you know, in fact today is the 8th, I think. Yeah, on the 11th of June, it will be 3 months since we first heard that the school year was going to finish from home, that we were going to be sent home within 2 days. On the 13th, it was the first day we started online learning. I was then still in school, but you guys were already at home that 13th of March. So yeah, 3 months already. My question anyway is, do you think it would have been any different if your parents had been at home all this time? Had not been at home all this time?
No.
No? For you it wouldn't have been different. What about you, Ines?
No.
You think the same?
Yeah.
Does anybody think anything different? Marcos or Boru?
Yes.
You think it would have been different?
Yes.
In what way?
Me too. I think that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe not for you, maybe not individually. Everybody knows themselves how responsible they are. But think about the class now. Think about schools in general. How do you think? I mean, statistically speaking, 26 people in every class, for example. There has to be at least a percentage of those 20-something people who, without without the pressure of their parents being there, they lack the necessary push to do things, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that.
So I'd like to thank your parents for that. I think in general, we should be thankful, because I've heard a lot of I've heard a lot of appreciation for teachers these days, and throughout these 3 months, I think most of your parents have been sending messages to the school to say how grateful they are that we kept going, that we kept trying to motivate you, especially in the because now it's easy. I mean, now we can come out very easily. It feels like at least the worst part is over, even though there's the fear that we might have a comeback. But the worst part obviously has already gone by, and your parents, like I said, have been thanking us for it, for keeping your routines, our routines, for keeping a steady flow of work that gives you sanity, I guess. And I'd like to thank them back for that, really, your parents and everybody's parents, because I think without them being there, I mean, there's so much I can do. I can tell you, can you guys do this? But like we said last week a couple of times, if somebody disappears from the video call, what can I do? I can just send an email and say, you are going to fail. That's the worst thing I can do, right? I cannot say you are under arrest because you don't come to school, or you will have to pay me. There's nothing I can do, really. So when I say there's nothing I can do, there's nothing we teachers can do. Ultimately, if a student decides not to come to school at all of their own will. So parents being there to push you and say, be an example, really, because I guess your parents, you have seen your parents work from home. Have you?
Yes.
You've seen your parents work from home. What do your parents do, Anna?
Like, even though they're here, like I rarely see them. Like they're each of them in a room with their laptop, and I'm like, hi, I will see you at lunch.
Cool. And what about the rest of you? Do you guys? Well, I don't know. I know Philip is here, and I don't ask him much because I know he doesn't have a microphone. But I think
He has,
you
I think.
do. He
I
does.
think.
Now he does, I think.
Now he does. Incredible. Well, whether he does have a microphone or not, most of the time during the online learning period, we have been communicating with Philip through chat messages. So I'd like to hear from him what he thinks about parents in general and what his parents do.
I think that if my parents weren't here at home, I will not go to classes directly.
You do have a microphone. I am in shock right now.
Because now I have a phone.
Yeah.
Before on my phone.
I know, but it's so strange because I haven't heard your voice. I mean, even though you were there, I should tell the audience. Philip has always been there, and he's a good student. He has been coming to class regularly. He's always asked what he had to do. He's always submitted his work, and he's done a good job, I think, in general in the term. But I couldn't hear his voice. It was only through message that we communicated. So, and I'm very happy to hear his voice again. So yeah, being honest, some people, as you guys are saying, Philip just said that if your parents had not been there, then obviously you don't do much, and that's what I think. That's the difference between being an adult and being a teenager. In many cases, I'm not talking about age. I'm just talking about mental responsibility. Management, let's say, because some people who are my age, for example, without I'm 32 right now. I know people at 30, for example, age 30, who without somebody pushing them, they or a deadline or something, without responsibility, they abandon themselves to um, to laziness, complete laziness. So I agree with you, Philip. I get what you're saying. So, however, other people, like Diego is saying, think that, and I am of the same opinion. In fact, I have no one here to push me or anything. And even though I don't have anybody, I still like to do sports in the morning, come to work regularly, go out for a walk in the evening, for example. And keep moving so I don't lose my motivation for life in general, right? Because you need to have a motivation always to keep you going.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking about that, today we are going to, my idea was that we spoke about jobs. So we've been talking about your parents. I'd like to know what your parents do, what you have seen them do, and most importantly, the first question is this: do you think every job can be done online?
No.
No. Obviously, it's an obvious question. It's the answer to that question is pretty obvious. Do you think Spain? Well, we don't know about Spain. Let's make it more. Do you think your parents, in general, uh, had it easy to work from home? And if so, what kind of jobs did they have?
My parents didn't work from home
They
because they're
didn't.
both doctors. So
What do your parents do that they couldn't work from home?
Doctors, both of them.
All right. Yeah, it's true. You told me that last week. So obviously, yeah, being doctors, in fact, they needed to be there in the line of battle, let's say. Um, so yeah, this is twice my applause and my appreciation for your parents. Really, once when I said a minute ago that they kept motivating you guys, and now because they actually saved lives. So congratulations for your parents. Marcos, you were going to say something, I think.
Yes, my father work in a fabric, so he needs to go
In
there.
a factory.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because, and this is interesting for anyone who's listening, and you'd be surprised, you guys, but this weekend, a lot of people have reached out and told me that they are listening to our show because they are trying to learn English. So with this, as we say in Spanish, they say I need to accustom the ear. And with you, it's easier than if I put an original radio podcast in English, which I don't really take as a compliment, but you know. Anyway, so yeah, fabric. About the words fabric and factory, right? It may create a problem for us Spanish speakers of English or learners of English. Fabric is this, what clothes are made from. I said this because I was touching my polo shirt that I'm wearing, because even though this is a radio show and it happens in silence, it's not in silence, without video, we are not naked as you might think, or at least not completely. That is fabric. Factory is what we think is fabric in Spanish, because it sounds more like fabric in Spanish, but factory is where they make things. Those buildings where you produce objects, let's say, mostly, or materials to use for other objects. So your father works at a factory, another job that is very depending on what he does for that factory. If what he does is he produces stuff, I think it's difficult that translates into online working. What do you think, Marcos, from your experience?
I don't know.
Could your dad work from home? No,
No.
not really.
Well, he makes planes, so maybe they are less needed now.
Uh-huh. So he can be doing other stuff such as I don't know actually.
No, I mean, if it's not necessary, he can stay home.
All right. But does he actually make parts of planes or
Yes.
uh-huh. Does he have to like make design parts of plane?
No,
Oh
no,
right.
no.
So he could also draw what do you call those blueprints and stuff.
No, I think other people are in charge of
All
that.
right, other people are in charge of that. So yeah, in his case, it's difficult that it translates into online working. So as you say, he gets sent home every now and then when he's not absolutely crucial, when he's not needed. Let's say. What do other people? Alba, are you there?
She doesn't have a microphone,
She doesn't
Alba.
have a microphone. It's
So
true.
maybe she
But
can talk by the
yeah, maybe she can talk via the chat. Maybe she can use the chat. Well, Alba, if you're listening to us, we're talking about our parents' jobs. And we have said how some jobs could be done from home online, and some jobs obviously couldn't. Some jobs are more easy to do from home than others, obviously. And we're talking about that because I want to go in the direction of jobs that you might have in the future. I never asked you this, but what are your plans for the future?
I don't know.
You don't know.
For me, like when I grow up, I want to work either in an embassy or
Wow,
like representing Spain in some sort of international organization.
that's pretty cool that you want to do that. That you know you want to do that. What about? Okay, that is for your job. So you have an idea what your job will be like, or at least what you want. What about other people? Maybe you don't know. You said you don't know what you want to do, but maybe you mean you don't know what you want to do for a living for money. What
Yeah.
about other plans? Do you have any other plans? Like, do you have any dreams that you'd like to do or make happen?
No,
No,
no, I don't have anything.
I don't have any dreams. I come to class every day.
I have a lot of money, but I don't know how.
All right. So you'd like to have a lot of money. Alba is telling me that
Yeah.
she doesn't know what her plans are, I suppose, as well. In the chat, she's saying that. What about you, Bolu? Any idea what you want to do? Be?
I only know that I want to study any type of engineering. How do you say?
Yeah, engineering. Okay. So any type of engineering. So at least you know more or less where you're going in terms of
Yes.
school education, I would say, because you know the path towards engineering, I think at least in Spain, is pretty clear. It's pretty straightforward. You know what subjects you have to take. You know what type of baccalaureate, let's say, you have to do. If you're listening to us from a country in which baccalaureate means nothing to you, in Spanish, in the Spanish education system, we separate the last well the last 2 years of
High school.
yeah, thank you.
So
What is called, yeah, it's
our
because
baccalaureate,
I'm trying to think in different cultures, and that creates a
like
problem.
for example, in America, like our
Mhm.
baccalaureate is their
High
junior
school.
and
Yeah,
senior years.
that's right. Very good. Which is their 11th and 12th grades.
Yes.
That's what it represents. However, in the UK, we say
Sixth form.
the sixth form. That's right. How do you know so much, Anna?
I studied in England.
It's true. It's true. So yeah, the sixth form is what prepares you for your A levels, which is the university entry access, and that is what we call baccalaureate, which is really a French word. But yeah, we use a Spanish version of that word, let's say baccalaureate, to designate those 2 years, so in preparation for university entry exams. And depending on what subject, what degree, what studies you want to do in college, in university, you will you are forced in your 10th or 11th grade in the UK, it would be when you are 15 coming on 16. In those years, in that year, you are asked what you want to choose for the next for your last 2 years of high school, as you say, Anna. So yeah, pretty similar, I think, to what happens in other countries, but obviously with some little nuances that anyway, we were saying that for Bolu, who knows he already knows he wants to do engineering, it's pretty clear. It's pretty straightforward. Now, for other people, Marcos, what do you know what you want to do? Do you have any plans?
I want to be happy.
You
I
want to be
want
happy.
to have
Great.
yes.
Do you think, and this is an interesting question when it comes to speaking about working and etc. Do you think that the kind of job you have has a relationship with how happy you are?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Can you give an example?
Like if you work for example, in an office with people that you like, you have like a good boss, you love your work, then you are happier.
Yeah.
But if you are in a place where people are mean or they are
Hmm.
overexploiting you or something like that, then of course you're not going to be as happy.
Very good, very well said. So socially speaking, if your workplace is a good place, is a socially accepting place, then you will be happier because you will be socially accepted. Yeah, that's a very good example. Can you find other examples of the opposite? For example, how can you be um, let's say for example that your job doesn't really, or socially you're not bothered by how people are, because in your job, for example, you don't really have that much of a relationship, you don't have to cooperate with others, which is strange these days. But imagine you have a job that gives you a lot of solitude that you need. It gives you the full responsibility to do your hours. I'm thinking of, for example, I am a gardener. I have to take care of a piece of land, garden, and that's all I have to do. I have so many hours to do it, or I have all day to do it, but I can organize my tasks the way I want. I don't have any relationship with anybody, but what does it depend? What does my happiness depend on that? I can be a gardener and be happy, or I can be a gardener and be miserable. What do you think it depends on?
I think if you're bored at the work,
Uh-huh.
I think you cannot be happy with the work because
Yeah.
you don't like if you don't like the work, you can't be happy.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't like the kind of work that you do, as you say, Diego, it's difficult that. So obviously there has to be some sort of and I'm thinking of what Marco said. He said, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to be happy. So doing versus being. Many times, often because we spend most of our day, or the best part of our days, our best hours, let's say, when we are at our best version, when we're adults, because we spend those hours in our workplace. Um, we tend to think sometimes it's easy to fall in the trap of I am, for example, uh, in my case, I am a teacher. That's what I am. I'm not a teacher. I am a teacher, yes, but that's not all I am. That's not everything I am. I am a person. I am Ruben, and I like to do several activities, which all of them put together, I think, define me. One of those activities I like to do, I happen to like to do that activity, to do that activity, but it's also my job, so I have to do it in a way in exchange for money, because that's what gives me the means to do other things. Now that is what I do. Is one of the things I do. Just one of the things I do. I teach English for a living, and again, I can like it more or less, but it does not define who I am. Don't you think? That's how I see it. Anyway, this is opinion. Do you think your job defines you?
Yeah.
It does?
Yes.
How?
To an extent.
To an extent is what I think, yeah.
Of
Yeah,
course,
well-
like you can be many more things apart from your work, but whether you like it or not, the work that you do every single day for 6 hours a day
Yeah,
has to define you in some way.
yeah. Well, 6 hours a day is the dream, let's say.
Yes.
Working
I
only
know.
for 6 hours a day, Anna, would be awesome, I would say. But yes, who's to say that you can't dream with a job that only takes 6 hours? In fact, I used to work 6 hours a day in a job that I had, but I was very happy. But I made very little money. It made me very happy, but I
Yeah.
had no money to do the other stuff. So yeah, there's the difficulty of finding the balance, I think, and there are many more factors, obviously, because how much do you need, or how much do you tell yourself that you need to how much money, how many things, how much in general of,
Yeah.
of how much stuff do you need to be happy, let's say. And that is obviously very, very personal because objectively speaking, we can say that some things are necessary, some things are or more necessary, some things are less necessary, but obviously what's necessary for you might not be the same thing that's necessary for me. So
Yeah.
depending on how expensive those things are and the country where I find them or not, or where I find myself, obviously, to find those things, I think that has an impact on your happiness as well, because I do this job for this amount of money. Now, whether that is enough or not will be determined by the cost of living, for example. How expensive is it to live in that country? The cost of my hobbies. How expensive am I as a person? Do I, the things I do, if I do, for example, not every hobby is as expensive. For example, reading is not as is expensive because if you read a lot, you obviously invest a lot of money in books, but it's not as expensive as skiing, for example, because you have to buy gear, buy clothes, book trips, pay for the 4 or 5 files things. I don't know what you call those. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
some hobbies obviously are more expensive than others. Um, Okay, so what? Okay, we have established, let's say, that whatever we do, or at least that's what Marco said, but I think everybody will agree with that. Whatever we do, we'd like to be happy, because that is
Yeah.
one of the goals in life, right? To be happy, which is an interesting debate for another day, maybe, because what it means to be happy and why we pursue being happy. Instead of saying for example, this is like I said, it's a debate for another day, but I tend to think that happiness can also be something that you choose to be in a specific
Yeah.
moment, the same way you can choose to be angry or sad. Sometimes, obviously, some other times you can't choose. So anyway, coming back to the job thing, what the reason why I was asking which jobs can be done online and which job do you see, or what job do you see yourself doing in the future is, do you think in the future your jobs will entail online realization of your job?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think that way?
Like, I think by the time that we have to work,
Mm-hmm.
many of the jobs that now have to, you have to be there,
Mm-hmm.
they will be done by robots. So most of us will be, online, like
Yeah.
we'll have maybe online classes, and it will all be working from home, because now, like in quarantine, we have learned, like many people love it. They're like, it's so much better. I do the same work I do at the office, but I rather be at my
Mm-hmm.
house. So I think it's going to become something way more common.
Yeah. What do you think, Diego?
Yeah, I think the same, that
You think
a lot of
you agree with Anna?
work will be done on at home.
Uh-huh. So and this is the reason for my question, really. So you think that whatever job, we don't know which myself included, in 10 years time, I don't know what I will be doing. Obviously it makes more sense that I am doing something that I'm already earning money for. So in my case, maybe in 10 years time, if I look into the future, I can see myself doing something related to teaching. But you guys are not working yet, so it's obviously whatever you do is less clear at
Yeah.
this point right now what you will be doing in 10 years time. But I think it's safe to say that part of our jobs, both yours and mine, will include, will involve online um, presence, let's say. or a part of it will be online. So, what do you think this experience with the pandemic, quarantine, etc., and online learning has given you something that you can use for that?
Yeah.
You think, yeah?
Yes.
Or did you already have it and we've just expanded on that?
I think we've already had it, but we have expanded it.
Yeah. Great. What about who else is here? Ines, you've been awfully quiet.
Tell me.
What do you see yourself doing in the future, and do you think you will need to work from home?
I don't know.
You don't know. Now, what do you thinking about cities, for example, as a whole? Have you ever heard people complain about traffic, pollution, all those things? Have you heard?
Yes.
Do you think those are issues, or have you got used to them so much so that you don't think about them anymore? You think, oh, that must be, it's the way things are. Do you think those are problems we can solve?
Yes. We
How?
can solve. Like
You see what I'm trying to do
cars.
here? What's that?
Flying cars for
Flying cars, for
avoiding
example?
traffic.
Yeah.
And
Well-
for pollution, just renewable energy.
For
Or like
example.
nuclear energy or something like
Yeah,
that.
those are obviously two. There would be revolutionary steps if a city could just, invest more on renewable energy, obviously, which is something we can do. And flying cars is more like science fiction at this point. So I'm thinking that in 10 years' time, we never know, but in 10 years' time, I think it's difficult to think that cities will be full of flying cars, and so, or at least half and half, so we can have. But there is something that we can do to prevent pollution that does not include flying cars, but it includes another vehicle that is more eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Can you think of what?
Electric cars.
Electric cars, for example. Yeah, but that's
I
again.
have one electric car.
You have an electric car? What you mean?
Yes.
Your parents do?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah, that would solve the thing in terms of pollution. It would solve things. But what about traffic again? Every city in the world, every big city in the world gets crammed with traffic every morning when people try to get to work. And then again when the day is over.
Yeah.
So people are some people who have to spend an average an hour and a half, let's say, in their cars to go to and from work are very unhappy because of that. Or if they're not, at least maybe it's because they're not aware of that, or they've just accepted that, but they are wasting time of their lives because they're not working, so they're not getting paid for that. In fact, they are spending money, their own money, in fuel for the car, whether it be electric or gasoline fuels, but they're not investing that time they have or money in themselves, if you know what I mean. So
Yes, I think there are two ways of solving that. I think and they have all both been proposed before. I think one of them is, of course, like using more public transport to avoid the circulation of cars, and the other one, they were going to use it when all Madrid was like really polluted, like the number of the car number, like whether it ended on a odd number or a
yes, depending on the plate, depending on
the
your
plate,
on the number of your plate, If it was an odd number or an even number, you would have alternate days in which you could circulate with
Yeah.
your car. Let's say drive
Yes,
your car.
like I think using that and will reduce the amount of cars.
Yes, but for example, okay, I agree with you, but while I agree with you, I think that people who live very, very far away from their jobs, which is to begin with something that we should look into, I think. But people who live 1 hour drive away from their job, um, when they're not allowed to use their car to go to work, that's a problem for them. There are two solutions. They can buy two cars, one an odd number with an odd number of plates, and one with an even number of plates. Or I'm thinking more creative ways like substituting your plate, which is something illegal, by the way. But both alternatives are bad because buying more cars does not solve the problem. In fact, it does the opposite. And well, doing something illegal, I don't have to finish my sentence, right? With that, I think doing something illegal is never the solution for anything, or at least it can be an individual solution, but not on a grand scale. We're not solving much. In fact, we are creating other problems, like a lot of people doing illegal stuff. I don't think it makes progress very, very easy for that country. Anyway, so again, we have the same. We're in the same problem that with that person. I'm obviously thinking now of more individual things, but that thing of alternating numbers of plates to be let out can work for some people, but for some because they have public transport, etc. But it might not work for other people, and I think it's safe to say that Madrid. Well, I have lived in other cities in Europe, and I think Madrid has a great public transport network, especially to connect.
Yeah.
Especially to connect um, the suburb areas in the outskirts of Madrid with the center, and vice versa. But I think it's still because it's still full of traffic every day at specific rush hour times. It might have come to the point where it's not enough. We don't have enough roads for how many people we are. We don't have enough trains because there's a train every 2 minutes. And even though there's a train every 2 minutes, every one of them is packed. And now with the pandemic, the world in which we are about to start living, we have to keep that social distance of 2 meters, right? So 6 feet, they say 6 feet, 2 meters. So how can we do that when it's virtually impossible if everybody, because that's what we want, if everybody has a job and is going to it? I know I'm making painting an impossible scenario here, but that's what happens really in real life. What do you think? Are there other alternatives? I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. Recently, in the UK, for example, and other countries in Europe, the sales of bicycles have, to use an expression I read the other day, have skyrocketed. So have gone up insanely, in some to the point where some bike makers have run out of material. They have no more bikes because obviously with the pandemic they couldn't make more for a few weeks or for a few months, and all the stock they had is gone. Why do you think that is? Why now, when bicycles have been around for centuries, I would say, or at least a century and a half, and yet people chose cars over bicycles. But now Why do you think that is? Let's think about that. Bicycles in relation to traffic, pollution, your job.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You know, I cycle to school every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I'm not impartial in this. I love cycling because I am a cyclist myself, but it's not just that. I cycle to work because obviously I can. I mean, I live 20 minutes away, 20-minute ride away from home, from my workplace. In fact, if I speed things up, if I go very fast, I can take even less. I can take 10 minutes. And when I say I speed things up, I'm not trying to say that I go full tilt to work, etc. When I say that is I mean that if I could take a car route, if I could go on the roads that car use to go to school, in this case, I would take 7 or between 7 and 10 minutes, depending on my legs that day. So think about what I'm saying. 10 minutes I could take on my bike. Now, I'm not saying that obviously commuting, cycling to work is for everyone, because like we said, if you live very far away from your job, is perhaps not available for everybody, because not everybody has the physical strength to do it. But isn't it a solution for many people who live in a cyclable distance from their workplace? And
Yes.
it would then mean that there is one less car on the road,
Yeah.
right? And if you put one and another and another and another, if you add those cars that you're extra, or in fact, if you subtract those cars from the road, if you take all those cars from the road, you are essentially reducing both traffic and pollution.
Yeah.
Now, some people who are listening to us might be thinking, what Ruben is doing is he is convincing them to buy a bicycle, or to to live life in a similar way to what I do. But I do think I'm not trying to do that, obviously, by no means. Obviously, whenever we say something, everybody is affected by their own opinions and by their own way of living. And I think in my case, obviously, I can't be impartial. But even though I understand why traffic happens every day, why there is so much pollution, why a lot of people have to absolutely drive to work, or even take public transport. I understand it's not because we are selfish and we say, oh, I want to be in some cases it is, but it's not because people are selfish. It's because cities were never thought for cars in the first place. When they were built, let's say, when cities were established, we had no cars, so obviously the mobility was different. So now that we have this problem, as it were, I think a possible solution is that waiting for us, which is if people who can take the trip on a bicycle if they do, then we'll be looking perhaps at we might be reducing traffic in 30% or something like that to what it is right now, which is still a lot of traffic, I would say, but it is a considerable, significant cut down, I think, of traffic. Anyway, what do you think? Have I convinced you?
Like
Yeah.
for me, like I cannot be impartial either. Like I don't like bikes. I don't know how to ride a bike. Like that's not happening.
It's not an option for you. So, okay, so please keep working on the design of those flying cars,
Okay,
because the city needs it.
I'll talk with Daniel.
Nice. Any other thoughts that you'd like to? Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think the idea of the bikes is good.
Like they use it in a lot of countries, like in Germany, like most of the people go, like they go in bikes, and
Yes.
it's so normal for them. Like in the road, they have just like a special like lane.
That's right.
Just for bikes.
That's right. In Amsterdam as well, Rotterdam. I think most of the lowlands. I mean the Netherlands in general are thought for bikes, but obviously it's because they are flat, or at least flatter than here in Spain. So or Madrid. Madrid is very hilly, so it's difficult to make cyclable. But you know, it's always an alternative for many people. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me today, you guys. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, you can be proud of yourselves that you keep coming at this point in June. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Ruben.
Bye. And to everybody who's listening, I say, what do you think? Tell us in the comment section about bikes, about jobs in the future. We obviously were interested in jobs in the future for people who are now 15 or so. We were thinking, in general, my students, I think people who are now in high school, middle school. What do you think their jobs will look like? And do you think it will involve working online like they have learned to do now? Tell us what you think. Also tell us what you think about bicycles. If you'd like to buy one, I can't help you with that really, but I wish I could, because it would be a dream job of mine to work in a bicycle shop. So I'll look into that, I think.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Greste in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home? Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students. With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Tired of leaving school and having to take the bus? Do not suffer anymore. Now, with our premium limousine service, you can go home comfortably, and the best thing is that you will not have to share a seat with anyone. Before, at 50 euros a month, now only at 49,99. Do not miss this incredible offer. Call now and get your premium limousine service.
Valley FM. Everything the light touches is the valley, 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 valley.
There is a novelty in the market. The new Reuben juice comes full of vitamins so that children never get tired of playing and never stop speaking English.
Psst. Hey you. Yes, you. The one who's hearing this. Is your backpack too heavy? Your back hurts, you have bad posture, and you also feel like you get smaller every time you carry it? Say goodbye to all these problems with our new robot, the multifunctional charger. It has a platform that will carry your backpack without you noticing. It also comes with a built-in system that will straighten your back in 3 weeks of continuous use. Request it right now for only 120 euros. And if you are one of the first 5 to call, we will send you the 300-page manual with all its functions at half of price. Do not miss out on this unique offer.
Do you think your parents might kill you if they go to your tutorial? Do you want to be able to leave early whenever you want? Then you should hire our services. We offer actors to play your mother or father and go to your tutorials instead of your real ones.
And give you fake permission to leave early.
Only for a small fee.
Call us.
This is Valley FM.
Do you hate shopping and having to buy many different colored t-shirts? Because here we bring you a color 10 t-shirt for every day. Are you tired of your backpack of always? Here you have a purchase for a brand new backpack every day. Have you ever dreamed of being able to know what someone is thinking? Imagine knowing everything that people think of you without them really knowing that you read their thoughts. Here at Valley FM, we bring you an app called Did You Know That? Download it now.
Valley FM. It's not the Valley of the Fallen, it's the Valley of the Rockers.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy 2 and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Hey, did you hear Valley FM's back?
That's groovy.
Okay, we're back from that little break we took. Again, if you missed our first hour of the show, which is pretty simple, just wait for the stream to finish and re-listen to that, or better still, join us now, and then you can always watch / listen to the first part of the show later when it's finished. But anyway, we talked about jobs, parents jobs, bicycles. Yeah, if you're interested to know which relationship there is between those three things, well, 2 of them are very obvious, because bicycles and jobs, right? Because they go hand in hand. Just kidding. If you're interested to know, yes, please listen to that. I think it's interesting to talk about those things with our new generations. Next up, we have our 4th ESO students and myself and Kevin, which you will remember from last week. He's one of the he's from Texas. He's a Texan language assistant in our school. We are saying celebrated, as it were, a debate about school uniforms. We asked our students in 4th ESO what they thought about that, and the result was absolutely magnificent. We were very worried that a debate online might not work as well as it should, but they actually made do with what we had. And so here's the result. I'd like you to listen to it and tell me what you think in the comment box. 4th ESO, school uniforms.
Know by your clothes, but it is true that you can express yourself by clothes, for example, with a message. But I don't know. I think that, as I said later, uniforms were created for not prejudice.
Prejudice, good.
So that's it. I think that our personality, it is our problem, not of the clothes.
Uh-huh. Would you like to say what Anna is supporting you with, supplying you with?
I'm not. Oh, okay.
And Maria, you can speak whenever you want. Obviously, just there are devices we can use. You say sorry. I'd like to say, or if you interrupt one, you can say, "Oh, go ahead," or "Excuse me, Can I say something? Can I interrupt?"
Okay, I understand Anna's point that it is obligatory, but I think that it is for that, because people can laugh of you. Well, that is so mean, but people can laugh of you if you wear like clothes that are cheap or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the majority of the people doesn't get to that point, but some of them could do that.
Yeah.
And also and vice versa, because there is people that love on people who has how do you say this, expensive clothes.
Uh-huh.
Like you are wasting money because you could buy things that are cheaper, and you are going to be the same person. That's one thing that I support. That if you buy things that are so expensive, you are only saying I have money, but you are not going to change because of clothes. So I think that the uniforms are good for that, but we are going to be the same persons.
Okay.
What I wanted to say is that wearing uniforms is a very good way. What you say about the prejudices and all that, but at the same time, I think that they don't let you be the kind of person you want to be because you are not wearing what you I don't know, what you are comfort, or I don't know, wearing what you want every day, as Marina Barros said. I think it's the better way to express how you feel or how are you. So I think it's important, and also is what Paula said, that you are relaxed and you are comfort, and I don't know. I think it's very important that.
Okay, well, while you think of other arguments, I didn't want to interrupt earlier. I just want to say that I am recording this, just to show what we're doing to other teachers, or in the future, if we want to use this again. And by way of an explanation in this video, what we're doing is we're debating whether or not school uniforms take away your personality when you wear them, or uniforms in general for that matter. And we have two representatives for each side of the statement. There's Maria defending that statement, and there's Jorge opposing that statement, rejecting that statement, and the rest of the class is providing them with the arguments with a text message to maintain peace, let's say. Okay, Jorge, you can go ahead and use Lucy's argument.
Yes, okay, I like that, what Lucia said, because if you can not know anyone because of the clothes you wear. So I think that uniforms are good of this, because if you have that prejudice, you are going to think that all people are the same way if they wear the same clothes. So that can help you of thinking, okay, if you think you need to talk to someone to know who are they? The clothes doesn't help you.
Mhm.
And I agree with Maria in some way because you can express yourself, as I said before, in the way of you wear. But I think that even with uniforms, the people wear in different ways. I don't know if you understand that.
Yeah. Like you mean, Maria?
Yes, like for example, someone can have the polo por dentro. I don't know how to.
The polo shirt tucked in. Yes. I think we say.
For example, the Esteban and me have the short pants that go under the knees.
That's a very good argument. The way you loosen up your uniform.
Yes, you can wear in different way than other person that have the same clothes as you.
Yeah, and you're also making a statement with that. You're also saying something about yourself.
Yes.
It's also a conscious choice. Good. That's a good argument.
I know what you are saying, but in reality, all of us have many prejudices, and even if you haven't spoken with that person, or I don't know, being his friend, if you look at how that person, what that person is wearing, you can have an idea of how he's in reality, or I don't know how he is. So I think it's a very important way of knowing a person, because if you look how he is wearing, or I don't know, you can have an idea of how he is.
Okay. I don't really agree of that because I don't know. I don't always wear with at the same. Sometimes I wear like I don't know. I wear like if I was in the 90s watching an NBA match, and another times I'm like, well, I don't know. I wear if I was in a Sunday going to get out.
Sometimes very smart, sometimes rather baggy. We say baggy. The word baggy is, when your clothes are at least two sizes, or feel like they're two sizes bigger than you.
Now I'm wearing a 6XXL, so.
I wanted to say something about what Sarah said, that as she said, the uniforms make us look equal, so it doesn't let us to be, like Ruben said before, open mind and see how different can we be, or what types of lives can we have, and that we are not equal, and that we can have a different, different ideas of how we can dress, or I don't know, wearing a uniform. I think it doesn't benefit in that way, because you cannot really have an open mind of how the people can be.
The people, sorry, I thought you said something in Spanish. I think you said like the guy can be, the people can be. Great.
Okay, I agree with Miguel that he said that sadly prejudice are not going to stop even if we wear all the same clothes, because, well, I'm going to be, how do you say, I don't know how to say this even in Spanish. So
think about right. I take it you're thinking of an adjective, yeah? I'm going to be.
No. Well, I don't know. I don't remember what I was going to say, but for example, even if you wear all the same clothes, people can look on you because of your compliments. It is bullshit. I don't like this, because they are always like trying to say you that you are different, and it is like, I don't know. I prefer to be different than be the same as everyone. For example, with my some people love because of my funny pack. I don't know if it is said like that.
Your funny what?
Funny pack.
Fanny pack.
My riñonera. Because of it was
I didn't know how to say that, to be honest.
I prefer to have a colorful fanny pack as a black one that doesn't have anything. I think that colors can express yourself, but not really, because you can be a person who wears all the rainbow and then be an angry man.
Yeah.
Who likes to talk.
Yeah. So you're what you're trying to put forward is the power of compliments, yeah? To let's say to say something about your uniform or to say something about yourself and add color in every possible way to your uniform. Good. That's a nice thing to say. Okay. I think we're more or less we're approaching the end of the class, so I'd like to thank everybody for their arguments because you gave more arguments than I thought. And now I'd like to praise Jorge and Maria for their performance. And would anyone else like to take over for them? I'd like to pick from, for instance, Nadia. Do you have a microphone? I think she does.
Yes.
Hello. Could you read every comment that was meant for Jorge and what Jorge said and try to make, to come up with, I'll give you time to do it, don't worry. Try to come up with a summary of the main ideas that Jorge said and just throw in a conclusion. And also, personally speaking, tell us what you thought differently before the debate and now, if it's your case. If there is something that someone has said that you hadn't really thought about, but now you do because you've learned that on Jorge's side, let's say, and on Maria's side, can we have? Paula already spoke. Marina. No, Marina read her story yesterday. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anna. No, Anna wasn't for herself.
Hello. No. Hi.
Hello. No, but you were on Jorge's side, so it's gonna be. Sorry, it's gonna be Alvaro or Sarah. Hello.
But what I have to do?
No, don't worry, Anna, because I'm trying to choose two people to relegate Jorge and Maria and let them rest.
Okay.
So I have chosen Nadia in exchange for Jorge. So like in football games, number 10 Jorge goes back to the bench. Number 15 Nadia comes on the pitch. A round of applause. And while Maria goes off, I want Alvaro Cachon to come on.
Okay, I'm here.
Great, thank you. The same idea as Nadia. I hope you were listening to it. Conclusion of Maria's ideas and everything that was that fell on her side, let's say. And did you learn something new with this?
Okay.
So whoever's ready first, Nadia or you, go ahead when you're ready. Nadia, are you there?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Well, yes, but okay. Oof.
Come on, you can do this.
That doesn't matter the clothes you wear, that they don't have to be what you are, because I mean I can dress something like the same shirt like other person, and I am not and I cannot have the same personality that that person. And I think that wearing uniforms, you are not worrying about something that can say other person, because you are wearing the same and they cannot judge you.
Okay. Have you learned something new with this debate today? Was there something that someone mentioned that you hadn't thought about on either side?
No.
You can say no. Okay.
No.
It's okay to say no. All right. Thank you. Alvaro?
Yeah, okay, so reading the comments, I think the point people are trying to make is that they make everyone look equal. Like if you wear the uniform, everyone just looks equal, so that's one less thing they can judge you on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just funny to me how people could say clothes don't determine who you are. However, if you go to a shop and pick your clothes, you have to. It comes from your personality, because you're the one choosing the clothes. That you can't really say they don't express your personality because you chose them. So, I mean, I'm all for uniforms, but I do think they take away from your personality.
Great. Very good. And let me also say, I think, well, you haven't spoken for near as long as when we tested you, but you have dropped the use of however. In a way, it's true. You used it, but only once, and then you also used so and but, and so great. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating in this today. It went beyond my expectations. This actually, I didn't think that it would go well. I didn't know if it would go well or not. I thought I might encounter silence all class long, but it turns out everybody was participating, and you guys held the two sides. Maria and Jorge, thank you very much, ever so much, for making the effort. You can feel proud of yourselves for the rest of the day. In fact, don't go to any other lessons. Tell them that you've done your job for the day, and
you have the okay from your tutor.
Exactly. Right. That's all from me, really. I'll see you guys tomorrow for our Simpsons episode.
So can we hang out? Like,
yes, you can hang out.
Bye. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye. I'm going to stop the recording. Great. So that was it for our fourth ESO students debating on the use of school uniforms. I will say it was very interesting to find out that I was expecting that they would all hate school uniforms, being as it is that they all have to wear it every day, and most of them are very critical of it when it comes to tucking their shirt in, not wearing a hoodie on top of their uniforms. However, a lot of people, showed that they don't really mind the uniform, and that not only do they not mind it, they also kind of like it. And I was surprised by that. But hey, they also convinced me that it can have some benefits as well. The uniform does have. Anyway, next up, a couple whoop, there you go. I think some 2 months ago, or a month, was it a month ago? Well, some time ago, I started looking for creative writing ideas to do with some of my groups, some of my classes, and we came across when we were discussing and learning about how to write short stories and the power that short stories can have on people's minds. We came across this magnificent short story by some Maureen McHugh called Cannibal Acts, which you can find. I think I'll post the link to the story in a minute. You can find it in the Boston Review of Art. And I say that the story is magnificent because it was written at the start of the quarantine, and it reimagines a world, an apocalyptic world that is obviously science fiction, but that it resembles the way in which we think about the world since the start of the pandemic. So let's hear it, and we will comment on it later. Here it is, Cannibal Acts.
Cannibal Acts. There's a difference between dissection and butchering. Dissection reveals, but butchering renders. I'm a dissector professionally, pressed into service as a butcher. I was a biologist, am a biologist. The body in front of me is a man. I know him, although not very well. There aren't that many of us, so I know pretty much everybody. His name is Art. He looks much smaller, positively shrunken, laid out in the kitchen, and very, very white. I haven't seen many naked male bodies, but I am intimately acquainted with Art's. I have watched him. I'm not attracted to men when they're alive, much less when they're dead. But I feel a weird protectiveness towards Art. I felt the soft spot in his skull from the fall that killed him. I have watched around his balls on the curled mushroom of his penis. I have cradled his hard and bony feet. Now I tie a rope around his ankles and hoist him. This is a commercial kitchen with big steel counters and a Hobart dishwasher. The pulley in the ceiling is new. It sounds easy. I tie a rope around his ankles and hoist him. But I am not very strong these days, and just one pulley means I'm holding his whole weight. I don't know what Art weighs. He used to weigh more. We all used to weigh more. I'm so tired, my fingers are cold. I'm seeing spots when I pull hard on the rope. Kate has taken to calling the town Leningrad, which is lost on most of the people here. It's because we're under siege in this stupid little Alaska excuse. It's got an airstrip, a Coast Guard base, an army listening post, a dozen houses, and it's surrounded on two sides by water. The ocean at our back and a river called Pilot's Creek on one side. The army listening post was monitoring the Russians, of course, which is probably where Kate got the idea of Leningrad. So anyway, I get Art hanging, fingers just sweeping the floor. The dead are limp, heavy. One of the locals used to hunt when there was anything to hunt. Eric Schwarzhoff is a long-bodied, short-legged native Yungan. Maybe, he says, he and his wife are the last Yungan left alive. He told me the steps to field dressing a large animal. Eric is not going to eat Art. There is a group of people who have declared themselves to be non-eaters. Eric says he understands the people who have voted to eat and he doesn't judge them. He just can't cross that line. I understand him too. I stand in front of a human with a good knife, blade at least 4 inches long, Eric said. You want a real handle on the thing, and a guard. When the knife hits bone, It can turn and you can end up cutting yourself. I used to like to cook. I've cut chickens into parts. I'm familiar with the way a joint shines with white ligament and tendon. What hangs in front of me is an animal. I am an animal. I don't believe there is something particularly special about bodies, and I don't believe in souls, the afterlife, or the resurrection of the dead. I tell myself that this is a technical challenge. It's a skill I have some parts of, and I will learn the rest as I go. I am not sentimental. I put a plastic top underneath Art to catch blood and viscera. It's still very hard to open his throat. His viscera are lukewarm. I'm so hungry. Butchering has gotten me out of manning the defenses today. We all have to man the defenses, but I'm nearsighted and terrible with a gun. Luckily, there isn't much shooting because neither side has much in the way of ammunition. There are mostly men, as best we can tell. A lot of them fairly young. Maybe 30 of them, some still in ragged military fatigues. They are in the sharp green hills, waiting us out. They have a couple of boats, Zodiacs, but we sunk one of them when they first attacked, and now they either don't want to risk them or they are holding them until we are too weak to fight back. Or maybe they're getting too weak to fight. I find Kate on Beach Road. It runs along the beach, of course, and then turns inland and runs to the airstrip. It's cloudy and soft. It rains all summer here. The air off the water smells wrong. It should smell of fish and salt, that slightly rank and pleasant stink of ocean, but instead there's a taste to it, like nail polish or something, organics, esters and aldehydes. Kate is sitting cross-legged with a paper bag on one knee and a rifle next to her. Technically she's on sentry, watching the ocean, but with sloppy civilians. Does the distinction even matter anymore? She's taller than me. A lot of people are taller than me. I'm 5'4". She's rangy, a long-legged, raw-boned woman with large hands and feet. She's originally from New Mexico, but she's an Anglo with light hair and blue eyes. I am still surprised when I see her in glasses. She has worn contacts as long as I have known her. She was always going to get corrective eye surgery. Too late now. I can't tell if she is pleased to see me. I mean, usually she would be, but she knows what I've been doing. Kate is a non-eater. I sit down next to her and watch the chop. All done? She asks. I nod. I think for a moment she's going to ask me if I'm okay, which is something we would have done for each other before. She doesn't, and I don't know what I would answer if she did. I'm both not okay and weirdly okay. What's the book, I ask. She flips it over so I can see the cover. The Da Vinci Code. I can't help it. I back out a laugh. Kate hated the book when it came out. She sighs. There aren't that many books there at the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, I snap. She rolls her eyes. Don't tell me about the great oxygenation event or snowball Earth again or I'll scream. It isn't the end of the world, just maybe the end of us. Or maybe not. Humans are clever beasts and the world is a big place. It's probably not even the biggest extinction event the Earth has ever seen. The Permian extinction killed something like 95% of life, including bacteria. Life comes back. It may take millions of years. First bacteria, then multicellular organisms, then plants and animals. We're just another set of dinosaurs about to go extinct. Although some dinosaurs actually survived the Cretaceous tertiary extinction, we just call them birds. You're sitting there composing a speech, Kate says. I'm not going to say anything, I say. You intellectualize as a defense mechanism. I don't think psychologists talk about defense mechanisms anymore, I say. Back when we were both at the university, we were also both in therapy. Growing up gay pretty much ensured you messed up about something. My therapist told me I was an emotophobe, afraid of negative emotions. What's your defense mechanism, I ask. She laughs. These days, anger, when I have the energy. I brought her here. Not specifically here, this arse-end little Alaskan town, but here as in leaping at a chance to go to Juneau to study giant viruses and get us away from the increasing chaos of the lower 48. I look at her wrists, narrow, the knob of the styloid process standing on the scaly skin. Her ankles are swollen. Kate and I bitched about Houston the entire time we lived there. When I took the position, I had no idea that Houston was tropical. 98 degrees in the summer with 99% humidity. Flying cockroaches the size of my thumb. Getting into the car at the end of the workday was like climbing into a pizza oven. Honestly, though, I remember Houston this way. In the last year we were there, crime was getting horrible. There were refugee camps outside Brownsville and Laredo. Rolling brownouts. We had a used Prius, which was good because gas was rationed. Hamburger was $22 a pound. Kate gardened and we had half a dozen chickens. We had close friends, Ted and Esteban, and we'd take eggs and garden vegetables over to their place and make dinner. They had huge trees in their backyard and a pool. The electricity would go out and we'd sit in the dark and complain about mosquitoes and drink beer. I was coming home from work one day and stopped at a stoplight, as one does, and someone wrenched open the driver's side door of the Prius. It was a very angry man with a blue bandana covering half of his face. He'd have looked like some kind of old movie bandit if he hadn't also been wearing sunglasses. He was waving around a gun and screaming at me. He yelled, "Get out of the car," at some point. Back in the day, if you were on Facebook or Tumblr, and you were a woman, you probably got safety tips in your feed. I had read something about whether you were safer in a car or out of it, although I think it was about getting into a car with someone who was armed. Like someone who was going to get you into the car and take you somewhere. I remember it seemed vitally important to know whether I was safer in the car or out of it, but I couldn't remember, and in the end I scooted across the middle console and out the passenger's side door. He got in the car and drove off. My laptop was in the back seat. I had the key fob in my pocket, so he didn't have that. The police came and we went down to the police station and I told them everything. Then Kate took me home in a lift and Esteban made me a precious vodka martini. Vodka was expensive. And everyone came over and sat around commiserating. The electricity went out and we lit a couple of candles. I remember people brought food. Ted said he could take me to work the next day. Another neighbor volunteered to pick me up at work. It wasn't that far out of her way. I was genuinely shaken. I don't want you to think that I wasn't, but it was such a pleasure to be the center of everyone's concern and attention. As the city vibrated into pieces around our ears, we worked to take care of each other. In Houston, I was studying big viruses. Everyone was all over the country. My head of research, an asshole named Mark Adams, said it was like the 90s when everybody got sucked into the Human Genome Project. Careers were stagnant for a decade, he said. Careers. Imagine worrying about a career. Imagine having deep discussions about things at conferences in Atlanta or Baltimore. Big viruses were different from regular viruses. They didn't just take over a cell and destroy it to make new viruses. They took over a cell and turned it into a virus factory, pumping out viruses at an order of magnitude higher. They had already been linked with a meningitis outbreak in India. I was doing work on ATB, the energy transfer mechanism in cells, and how the virus co-opted the system. I was at a conference and ended up sitting next to a guy named Zhou Limin from the University of Science and Technology of China in Hefei. We'd corresponded but never met. We ended up getting lunch. He was a short, intense guy in glasses. He'd done graduate work at Penn State and been a postdoc at UCLA, so he spoke great English. We bitched about the emphasis on virus coatings and how that was a legacy of HIV research and how the organizers of the conference were biased towards those people. "You want a beer?" he asked. I didn't know if he knew I'm gay. I think I did the thing where I said I had promised to call and check in with my girlfriend. He didn't care, so we ended up sitting in the hotel bar, some Hilton or Sheraton. The beers were $19 a piece. "Let me expense it," he said. "USDC covers alcohol?" I asked. He grinned. They'd be mutiny if they didn't. Sometimes I fantasize about doing work in China. There were fewer restrictions there. The Chinese were willing to play fast and loose with ethics. I mean, I knew it would not really be anything like I thought. Their office politics were complicated and so were their governmental. "I wish we could do some of the things you guys can do," I said. He turned his beer glass in his hands. "The government is weaponizing big viruses," he said. "They're trying to make them to deliver bird flu." Everyone talked about what China might be doing. China had been the first country to bring human clones to term in violation of international ethics. Of course, we thought they might do something like this. You know for sure, I asked. I know people on the project, he said. I've seen some of the results. So, you might think I would instantly rush to the government or to the newspapers, that I was in a position to save the world. But I wasn't. What were we going to do, invade China over microbiology? All that would happen was that Zoe would be compromised. I think he had just to tell somebody and I was a stranger on a plane. I told a couple of friends without mentioning Zoe. Then I saw the job listing at a new lab in Juneau and it sounded so far away, so clean and cold and safe. Juneau was actually like Seattle, wet and green. I remember watching TV in the airport while we waited to catch our plane first to Salt Lake City and then to Seattle and then on to Alaska. There were reports on the bird flu epidemic in Russia. Russia had been saber-rattling at China and Mongolia, and the Chinese had retaliated. In a month we were all working on ways to stop the viruses, vaccinations, antivirals, manufactured viruses that spread their own antivirus, and look how well that went in Japan. People were getting sick all over the world. Kate got sick early on and was in the hospital on a ventilator for 3 days. She was lucky. In a month, there were nowhere near enough ventilators for the people who needed them, and infection among hospital staff was running at over 80%. Pakistan and India went to war and we all waited for India to drop the bomb, but instead North Korea nuked Tianjin and Los Angeles. The pandemic was burning unchecked. Bird flu, the counter flu, and it seemed like being near other people was a terrible idea. We decided to retreat to a cabin on the Alaska Peninsula. It was owned by a guy in my department, but he was dead. My parents died in the pandemic. Kate's mother too. We don't talk about her father. She hadn't talked to him in a decade. Is Houston still there? It's like asking if Troy is still there. There's a place on the map marked Troy, but nobody has lived in those ruins or called it Troy in millennia. Maybe someone still lives in Houston. Maybe Ted is standing on his back deck looking at his empty swimming pool and he's converted it into a kind of greenhouse, like he always threatened. Maybe they are growing things. Maybe the chickens we gave him live there. Everything we try to grow here in Alaska dies, and no one, least of all me, knows what that means. In the late afternoon there are gunshots and I scramble to the airstrip. Scramble is a relative term. When I stand up too quickly I see spots. We all conserve energy, but the rule is when you hear shots, anyone not on sentry has to grab a weapon and go. We dug trenches and put up barricades of useless vehicles, trash and fence before these guys even showed up. I find Eric. The big man is crouched in a trench. What's the password, he says. A joke between us. Leningrad, I say. Where's Deb? Deb's his wife. He shrugs. Eric doesn't talk much. It took me a long time to figure out he's a sarcastic bastard. He's so deadpan, it's scary. What are they doing, I ask. I heard shots. I wish I could say I was some sort of intrepid survivor, but the first time someone shot at me, I just froze. I hunkered down and couldn't move. Eric's comment was, later, it happens. They aren't doing anything, Eric says. I watched the green and granite hills. No sign of movement in their trenches. I wonder how much food they've got, I say. Maybe we should do some kind of nighttime sneak attack. Not that there's much night at this time of year. Jeff said no, Eric says. Jeff is our elected mayor or commandant. I'm tired from jogging to the airstrip and these days my concentration is pretty shot. So I sit for a minute carefully studying the landscape and feeling empty and stupid. And thinking about Art cooking back in the kitchen. Wait, you suggested it? Eric glances at me, expressionless, which I think is Eric speak for, are you a moron? He looks back out at the blank hills. We sit there for a while and I try to figure out what that means. It starts to drizzle. Do you think they're planning something? I ask. I think they're desperate, Eric says. Join the club, I say. Eric looks at me stone-faced, but I'm beginning to get when he's amused. I think he's amused. The eaters assemble in the canteen. Len did the cooking. He's worked very hard to make sure that Art no longer looks like Art. We have Art a couple of ways. We have some of Art roasted and sliced thin, lean strips of meat. The rest is boiled. So here it is. Human flesh tastes pretty bland. Tough and maybe a little bitter. I can see why people compare it to veal or pork or chicken. I am so hungry, but I eat it slowly. Len cries as he eats. He was a fisherman, like the guys in the television show who catch crab, only he worked on boats that caught halibut, pollock, and herring, and occasionally did stints in processing plants. I almost sat down next to him. Solidarity is our grisly parts in this meal. But I thought maybe it was better if I didn't make us so obvious. There isn't a lot of meal. The broth is salty. I feel full. Thank you, Art. I wonder who at this table will eat me. Although I'm a short woman and there's a good chance I'll outlive most of the men. I almost fall asleep at the table. Spoons clink against bowls. Len cries as he drinks spoonfuls, salty tears slipping into his ragged beard. Flannel shirt loose on him. A single gunshot the next morning brings us to the airstrip. It's sunny for a change. Kate and I walk over together. We haven't said anything about what I've done. It should have been some kind of personal Rubicon, and maybe it was. But what I feel is that I held out on Kate. That I didn't share food with her. Like I cheated. There was a time when we'd have talked about it. It's what lesbians do, you know. We talk and talk. We negotiate our needs and our wants. We explore our feelings. But here at the end of the world, it's okay that some things won't be resolved. We'll go to our deaths with resentments and unfairness clutched to us like greedy children. What else have we got? There's a white t-shirt flying on a stick. We all sit on the ground, the edge of a trench, whatever. I mostly feel as if I don't have the energy to deal with this. Not after Art. No more decisions. What do you want to do? Len asks everybody and nobody in particular. They surrendering? Collie asks. Eric's face doesn't exactly change, but I suspect he's thinking, moron. Collie is perfectly nice. I think she was local, administration, like a secretary or data entry. I can imagine her thinking she'd work for a few years, get a nest egg, and then get a job in Juneau. Or maybe she's like a lot of Alaskans and she likes the arse end of nowhere and she had a husband who loved snowmobiles or something. I don't trust them, she says. Oh, for Christ's sake. We can ask them, I say. I thought I was too worn down to care, but I remain myself opinionated and unwilling to shut up till the end. Everyone looks at me. I stand up and yell over the tipped Land Cruiser that forms part of a barricade. I yell, "Hey, are you surrendering?" Kate finds me embarrassing sometimes. A guy comes over the hill. He's dressed in camo pants and a t-shirt and he looks normal, not super skinny. He waves his arms. "We need help. We're dying. We're sick." "All of you come out in the open," Eric yells. It's a long 5 minutes or so before 3 men shuffle to the edge of the airstrip. We shout back and forth. "They're all that's left," they say. We don't believe them. One of them weeps. It takes most of the morning before we are convinced. There are 4 more guys too sick to walk. We could shoot them. They don't look starving, that's the important thing. What if we quarantine them? Kate asks me. We'd be talking Ebola levels of decontamination, I say. Bleach, the whole 9 yards. We don't have that stuff. I've already had the flu, she points out. I've been immune. I just have to be very careful. 3 of us have had it and survived it. They decide to risk meeting. Everyone else will be ready for an ambush. We have rubber boots and Wellingtons, and latex gloves and hairnets that were for the kitchen staff. The 3 put on raincoats, and Gear and I use duct tape to seal the sleeves of the raincoats to the top of the latex gloves. When they come back, I will make them walk through tubs of bleach and wash everything off before putting on a pair of gloves and taking all the homemade gear off. "Cover me," Kate says to me, grinning. I'm a terrible shot, and walks across the airstrip. No one shoots. That evening in our bed, she tells me what I was like. The graves, the newly dead, the smell, the sick, the trash and carelessness. They were like teenagers, she says. One of the sick men died during the afternoon. There is a box truck 3/4 full of supplies. Bags of beans and rice, MREs, these weird emergency bars. Kate tells me they were convinced we had medical supplies. One of them said that he knew we had supplies when they smelt meat cooking. They assumed then that we had power, maybe a freezer. They're just kids, she says, like my students. Kate taught English, freshman composition in Houston. Just clueless kids. Like we have a clue, I say. We eat MREs. Mine is Mexican chicken stew. There is a stew and a packet of red peppers to spice it up, Spanish-style rice, and jalapeno nacho cheese spread. There are cheese-filled pretzel nuggets. There is Hawaiian punch, so sugary that when I taste it, tears come to my eyes. And these weird crackers, like saltines but coarser. Some weird refried beans with so much flavour. There's a full-size bag of peanut M&Ms. It's weird seeing it all bright. It's exotic. Kate gets spaghetti with meat sauce. We'd reached in and drew blind so we wouldn't know what we were getting. We agree she won. It's like canned spaghetti and comes with a weird cracker that is shaped like a slice of bread, but it isn't either bread or a cracker. Cheese whiz type stuff. Hot sauce, potato sticks and blueberry cherry cobbler. I feed her some of mine because I keep saying I ate yesterday. Besides, I'm full. We share her blueberry cherry cobbler, which has no crust and isn't really anything like a cobbler, but who cares? And we keep the M&Ms to share in bed. Cheese and crackers, a meal. It makes me think that maybe we'll survive. Maybe in a few months there will be fish in the ocean, and Len will show us ways to catch them. It makes me think that a society that made things this marvellous will not just disappear. It makes me think that none of the rest of us will get the flu. It makes me believe we will hang on. We sit in our bed in the big main building of the Coast Guard station. No one lives in the houses because they are too hard to defend. Our home is a mattress and box of springs sitting on the floor of an office next to a desk. I feed Kate a yellow M&M and eat a brown one. Don't eat all the brown ones, she says. Oh, do you like them best? No, you're giving me all the pretty ones and eating all the broken and brown ones. I ate yesterday, I say. I ate today. She picks up a red one and holds it out to me on the palm of her hand. I take it. I'm sorry, I say. I'm sorry I ate. I wish they had surrendered before. I want you to eat, she says. You're not. I am, she says, and pops an M&M in her mouth. Now I am again. And I sigh and settle on my side. Promise me you'll eat me, she says, if it happens. I don't say anything. You're so brave, she whispers. I would if I could, but I can't. I can't be like you. I smell the M&Ms and the dusty carpet. I feel the bones of my hips on the mattress. Eat me because I love you, she says. Because you love me. Because you have to. Promise me.
That was Cannibal Acts by Maureen McHugh. We will talk with my third ESO A students about the story, about the themes the story brings to mind, about the devices it uses, about creative writing in general, about short stories, about starting short stories, about finishing short stories, but it will be after the break.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
This is Valley FM.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
Valley FM. It's not the Valley of the Fallen, it's the Valley of the Rockers.
Have you ever dreamed of being able to know what someone is thinking? Imagine knowing everything that people think of you without them really knowing that you read their thoughts. Here at Valley FM, we bring you an app called Did You Know That? Download it now. Are you tired of your backpack of always? Here you have a purchase for a brand new backpack every day.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
There is a novelty in the market. The new Reuben juice comes full of vitamins so that children never get tired of playing and never stop speaking English.
This is Valley FM.
Valley FM. Everything the light touches is the valley, 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 valley.
Tired of leaving school and having to take the bus? Do not suffer anymore. Now, with our premium limousine service, you can go home comfortably, and the best thing is that you will not have to share a seat with anyone. Before, at 50 euros a month, now only at 49,99. Do not miss this incredible offer. Call now and get your premium limousine service.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Agresti in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home? Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students. With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
Do you hate shopping and having to buy many different colored t-shirts? Because here we bring you a color 10 t-shirt for every day.
Do you think your parents might kill you if they go to your tutoria?
Do you want to be able to leave early whenever you want?
Then you should hire our services. We offer actors to play your mother or father and go to your tutorials instead of your real ones.
And give you fake permission to leave early.
Only for a small fee.
Call us.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
Hey, did you hear Valley FM's back?
That's groovy.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Psst. Hey you. Yes, you. The one who's hearing this. Is your backpack too heavy? Your back hurts, you have bad posture, and you also feel like you get smaller every time you carry it? Say goodbye to all these problems with our new robot, the multifunctional charger. It has a platform that will carry your backpack without you noticing. It also comes with a built-in system that will straighten your back in 3 weeks of continuous use. Request it right now for only €120. And if you're one of the first 5 to call, we will send you the 300-page manual with all its functions at half of price. Do not miss out on this unique offer. Psst. Hey you. Yes, you. The one who's hearing this. Is your backpack too heavy? Your back hurts, you have bad posture, and you also feel like you get smaller every time you carry it? Say goodbye to all these problems with our new robot, the multifunctional charger. It has a platform that will carry your backpack without you noticing. It also comes with a built-in system that will straighten your back in 3 weeks of continuous use. Request it right now for only €120. And if you're one of the first 5 to call, we will send you the 300-page manual with all its functions at half of price. Do not miss out on this unique offer.
There is a novelty in the market. The new Reuben juice comes full of vitamins so that children never get tired of playing and never stop speaking English.
Tired of leaving school and having to take the bus? Do not suffer anymore. Now, with our premium limousine service, you can go home comfortably, and the best thing is that you will not have to share a seat with anyone. Before, at 50 euros a month, now only at 49.99. Do not miss this incredible offer. Call now and get your premium limousine service.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy 2 and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Hey, did you hear Valley FM's back?
That's groovy.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy 2 and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Do you hate shopping and having to buy many different colored t-shirts? Because here we bring you a color 10 t-shirt for every day. Have you ever dreamed of being able to know what someone is thinking? Imagine knowing everything that people think of you without them really knowing that you read their thoughts. Here at Valley FM, we bring you an app called Did You Know That? Download it now.
Valley FM. Everything the light touches is the valley. Valley, valley, valley.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Agreste in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home? Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students. With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
This is Valley FM.
Valley FM. It's not the Valley of the Fallen, it's the Valley of the Rockers.
Do you think your parents might kill you if they go to your tutorial? Do you want to be able to leave early whenever you want? Then you should hire our services. We offer actors to play your mother or father and go to your tutorials instead of your real ones. And give you fake permission to leave early. Only for a small fee. Call us.
Are you tired of your backpack of always? Here you have a purchase for a brand new backpack every day. Do you hate shopping and having to buy many different colored t-shirts? Because here we bring you a color 10 t-shirt for every day.
Hey, did you hear Valley FM's back?
That's groovy.
Have you ever dreamed of being able to know what someone is thinking? Imagine knowing everything that people think of you without them really knowing that you read their thoughts. Here at Valley FM, we bring you an app called Did You Know That? Download it now.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Agreste in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home?
Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students.
With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
There is a novelty in the market. The new Reuben juice comes full of vitamins so that children never get tired of playing and never stop speaking English. We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
Tired of leaving school and having to take the bus? Do not suffer anymore. Now, with our premium limousine service, you can go home comfortably, and the best thing is that you will not have to share a seat with anyone. Before, at 50 euros a month, now only at 49,99. Do not miss this incredible offer. Call now and get your premium limousine service.
Valley FM. Everything the light touches is the valley, 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 valley.
Are you tired of your backpack of always? Here you have a purchase for a brand new backpack every day.
Do you think your parents might kill you if they go to your tutorial? Do you want to be able to leave early whenever you want? Then you should hire our services. We offer actors to play your mother or father and go to your tutorials instead of your real ones. And give you fake permission to leave early. Only for a small fee. Call us.
This is Valley FM.
Valley FM. It's not the Valley of the Fallen, it's the Valley of the Rockers.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Psst. Hey you. Yes, you. The one who's hearing this. Is your backpack too heavy? Your back hurts, you have bad posture, and you also feel like you get smaller every time you carry it? Say goodbye to all these problems with our new robot, the multifunctional charger. It has a platform that will carry your backpack without you noticing. It also comes with a built-in system that will straighten your back in 3 weeks of continuous use. Request it right now for only 120 euros. And if you're one of the first 5 to call, we will send you the 300-page manual with all its functions at half of price. Do not miss out on this unique offer.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Tired of leaving school and having to take the bus? Do not suffer anymore. Now, with our premium limousine service, you can go home comfortably, and the best thing is that you will not have to share a seat with anyone. Before, at 50 euros a month, now only at 49,99. Do not miss this incredible offer. Call now and get your premium limousine service. Psst. Hey you. Yes, you. The one who's hearing this. Is your backpack too heavy? Your back hurts, you have bad posture, and you also feel like you get smaller every time you carry it? Say goodbye to all these problems with our new robot, the multifunctional charger. It has a platform that will carry your backpack without you noticing. It also comes with a built-in system that will straighten your back in 3 weeks of continuous use. Request it right now for only 120 euros. And if you're one of the first 5 to call, we will send you the 300-page manual with all its functions at half of price. Do not miss out on this unique offer.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
Valley FM. It's not the Valley of the Fallen, It's the Valley of the Rockers. Valley FM. Everything the light touches is the valley, 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 valley.
Hey, did you hear Valley FM's back?
That's groovy.
Do you hate shopping and having to buy many different colored t-shirts? Because here we bring you a color 10 t-shirt for every day.
Do you think your parents might kill you if they go to your tutorial? Do you want to be able to leave early whenever you want? Then you should hire our services. We offer actors to play your mother or father and go to your tutorials instead of your real ones. And give you fake permission to leave early. Only for a small fee. Call us.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid
We're back from our break here at Valley FM, and we would like to comment on Cannibal acts by Maureen McHugh with our third of ESO A students, my third of ESO A students. Sometimes I speak in plural because I mean the channel, but other times I speak in plural because I'm an idiot, really, because no one speaks of themselves in plural, do they? Unless they are the king or a gangster. Gangsters speak in plural of themselves as well. We. Also, some cyclists, for some reason, I'm into cycling, and for some reason, some cyclists speak of themselves in plural, which, in essence, I think, or in principle, I would say, is a good thing because they're acknowledging the fact that behind them there's a group of people who help them perform better, which is nice, good, kind of them, but also at the same time, you are the one who's peddling. They're asking you particularly about something. Why don't you just say what you do, what you did, or how you felt? Don't say we all the time. Anyway, good morning, third of ESO A. Good morning, 3A. Claudia, hello. And Tiago, good morning. Jaime, hello. Leaving. They're leaving. Some of them are leaving. Claudia's leaving. Don't know what that means. Good morning, Cesar. And Juanita. And Sarah. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Finally, somebody responds on the other side. Hello. So have you been rehearsing over the weekend, Juanita, to do some advertisements live on the show? Oh, Claudia's back. She came back. Hello, Claudia. Nacho's here.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what can I.
Listen, Juanita, people are crazy about your ads. People are asking in the comment section constantly, where can I find those Prime limousine services, and where can I find the
multifunctional charger?
That's right, the multifunctional charger. So where can we find it? Where can we find those things?
There's no place to find it.
There's no place to find them, sadly. Well, I'm sure a lot of people will be shocked that they can't find it and disappointed, probably. No, but seriously speaking, you sound very, very natural and very realistic. I almost think that it's a real ad. I see no difference with a real television or radio ad, really, to be honest. Other than that, I know it's you. It's not real, but sometimes I sort of want to pick up the phone and say, I'm going to try and find the app for that Prime Limousine Services. Anyway, how's everybody feeling today? More people have joined us as we speak. Yes, we are in the radio, Lola. Let me explain this to the audience. because or maybe well, an intervention is needed here. So the way this works, you can't see it obviously, but I am broadcasting as I also join the team my team's video call with my students. So I am in two places at the same time, as it were. I am in class with them, but I'm also broadcasting that, and I'm DJing and stuff for the show. So what I told them to do to make things clearer for anyone who joins us via YouTube is that they waited for me to say hello to them. So they very patiently every day remain there in silence until I say hello, guys, and that's when they can speak. That's like that's their cue. They know they can speak from that moment, which is, I don't know how they do it in professional radio broadcasting, but I'm pretty sure it's something similar to that. They either have a wait line or something, and I'm sure somebody tells them, somebody who works for the show but is not on the show live, tells the person on the other side of the phone to wait until they are prompted by the host, by the speaker. So yeah, we're doing something very professional is what I'm trying to say here. Lola, hello.
Hello.
How are you feeling? You okay?
Yes.
Yes. You sound sleepy.
Yes.
Were you asleep? Were you sleeping until now?
No, I wake up at 10.
All right. So you had class of sorts already.
Yes.
All right. Great. Now, today I'd like to talk about something interesting, depending on the point of view, but I also don't want to scare you, so I'd like to negotiate it with you, because I know that it's probably not your favorite topic to speak about, something that we've already done in class, but I'd like to show that to the audience, so I'll let you in. If you haven't been listening to the show in our previous hour before the break at around 10:30, I read out Cannibal Acts by Maureen McHugh. Do you remember that? The short story about an apocalyptic world where people had to eat each other, basically. Now, I can spoil it because we've heard it. Do you remember? Yes, no? Anyone, really?
Not really.
Not really. Well, in your case,
remember it.
thank you for sharing what you feel about Nacho. You probably didn't read it because you didn't do the activity. So, but thanks.
Now I am starting to remember you.
That's jokes. Anyone else? Does somebody must remember it, because I know you guys did the activities. Let me refresh your mind. It was a short story that you were meant to read from a webpage called the Boston Review of Arts, and I also posted some questions on our OneNote page for you to complete after you read or while you read.
The Cannibal Act.
That's right, Cannibal Acts. So you do remember?
Yes.
Great, perfect. So what I was saying is that in the previous hour of the show, we were listening to that. So the audience was listening to that, and I sort of promised that I would comment the story with you guys. So we can do it. We can do it like this. It doesn't have to be anything professional, you know. But we could do it like this. You guys can open your OneNote page, maybe. I was thinking, with your answers to the questions, when to refresh your mind, because obviously you haven't read it in a long time. We read it in the last.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Most people
remember one things, but not the whole story.
Yeah, which is why I think you guys should open your OneNote page so you can see your answers. Yeah. So when I ask you now, you can read your answers and say, oh yeah, I remember what I read, because I'm just going to ask you the same questions basically.
Okay.
Yeah, can we do that? Perfect.
Yes.
So, giving you a few minutes to open that. Seconds really. No connection takes longer than a minute to open OneNote. I think no Wi-Fi network. Anyway, so the first question I included in well, should we does anybody remember anything else other than that people ate each other?
That some people thought that they were going to die or something like that.
Yes, very good. In general, the feeling of the characters was that they were going to die. What was? Do you remember where they were?
In Alaska.
In Alaska, very good. And well, I don't want to spoil one of the questions, but have they always lived in Alaska according to the story?
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, very good. As long as somebody remembers, I think I can feel proud of myself that one student remembers one detail. But anyway, so the first question that I included, if you remember by now, I think you guys should have your OneNote page in front of you about the text, was what is a butcher? What is a butcher?
Is the person that sells meat.
Very good. Person that cuts and sells meat. Yeah. So the story starts with a scene of the narrator. Remember, we always separated narrator from author. The narrator butchering, as we say, a human body, and so which we learn later, people are going to eat. So what do you think of that start? What does it tell you about what you are going to read? When you start a story and it starts like that, what does it tell you? What does it make you think?
That is scary.
That is scary. Good. Very good. It's scary. What does it tell you in terms of, and I'll be more specific this time to ask my question and make it easier. How do we know whether the story do we know whether the story is real or not with that first scene? What do we think? Do we think oh yeah, this is something that could happen every day on Monday?
No.
No.
It could be real, but it's not common.
Very good. It could be real, but it's not common. At the very least, we are tempted to keep reading because we are reading something very, very shocking, very surprising, very strange.
Yes.
So, very good. So it could be, at the start, it could be science fiction. In other words, unrealistic, invented, as we say, just like superhero movies or Harry Potter, you know. Or it could also, we don't know at that point in the story, it could also be something, a real story, or something based on a real story that obviously excels your imagination. So we want to know whether this is in the future, and therefore science fiction, or in the past, and therefore something awful happening to someone. So we keep reading, and we learn that the kind of world in which they live, as Sarah says, is a world in which people are trying to survive. So they have to eat each other in order to survive. Now, what does that remind us of? Because they start talking about a virus, right? Do you remember they talk about a virus spreading?
No.
No?
Yes.
So that, I think, right there is what makes it scarier. Or that's what makes it the scariest. that's the scariest part about the story, because the fact that it's a virus and it's related to something that was going on as the story was written and was read by us, makes it even more scary. I think even scarier when you think that it could come to that, things could go to an extreme, and knowing what we know of what's happened, that things got out of hand and we ended up eating each other for survival. Obviously, the story exaggerates everything that happens, and there isn't just a virus. There's like it's basically apocalypse. Is the end of the world as we know it, because temperatures start to rise so much that humans can't cope with the temperature and they have to move to another area, and that's the reason why they move to Alaska. And basically the Earth is saying goodbye in the story. Now, the next question was, how many people live in Alaska nowadays? If you have your OneNote in front of you, you can tell me an approximation.
700,000.
700,000. Very good, 700,000 people. Have you ever? Can anyone look very quickly and tell me the population density of a place like that? In other words, how big is Alaska in relation, and how many people live in it? Population density, you can write if you want.
Less than one.
Less than one person per square kilometers. We say
yes.
Per
It's not a square meter.
No, square meter. Right now I'm talking to you in a square meter, and in the 10 or 20 square meters surrounding me there's no one. So, well, maybe not in the 20 because Maria is in another room, but
Yes.
I'm not surrounded by people, and it's not it's okay. In fact, if we said more than one person per square meter, it would be impossible, because I would have to share my meter with people. So it wouldn't be too few people. It would be too many people, in fact. Anyway, we're talking about people, the number of people per square meter. That's how we calculate population density. And I don't want to start a geography lesson or anything, but it's something very basic. So with one person per square kilometer, can we now compare it to, say, Spain, for example? Can you look for the population density in Madrid to give us an idea?
In the community of Madrid, they are 800 per kilometer.
800? I'm reading.
Yes. 800.
In the community,
No,
yes.
I searched it and it's 500.
Yeah, in my I've searched the city of Madrid has a population density of 5,400 people per square kilometer. In other words, 5,400 people per square kilometer, I think is what Lola is looking at, which means this is how crazy it is. Okay, a city. Madrid is a city, obviously, but there are bigger cities and there are obviously smaller cities. So but it's just a city. The city of Madrid, 5,000, over 5,000 people per square kilometer. Alaska, one person, not 1,000, not 100, one person. So to give you an idea, and of course Alaska is massive. I think it's the size of several European countries put together. I think it would be the size of the European part of Russia. But I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure which of the two would be bigger. However, it's massive. It's really good. It's really good. Sorry, it's really big. Alaska is, which means it's almost empty. Is what I'm trying to say. There are many kilometers, square kilometers that are absolutely empty. There's no one living there, and the reason for that obviously is that it's way up north and it's very cold there up there. So the situation in terms of temperatures there and climate is extreme. Not many people live there because it's difficult to build cities there. It's difficult to settle down and do something that will last because a winter can destroy everything you build up there. So, and yet in our story, they are talking about a move from United States in general into Alaska. So everybody in the United States has to go and live, and I suppose also Canada has to go and live in Alaska. The few remaining people, obviously, and they start. Do you remember how they organize themselves in the story?
No.
Do you remember they have like sentinels or soldiers watching over the camp, and then other people came from other parts of the country, we suppose, and they had flags. What does that remind you of? In fact,
a war.
Yeah, exactly. It's warfare. It's war times. In fact, they talk about trenches. And everybody has to take. They're not talking about I go home, I cook some human meat, I eat it, and then I watch TV. They're talking about I have to cook for the 18 odd people. I think I don't remember how many people live in that community, in that camp, but I think not many. I have to cook for the people who live in this camp, in this fort, and then I have to replace. I have to take my place in the watchtower or the barrier around the perimeter around the camp, which means they're like soldiers. Every one of them is like a soldier. So yes, we're talking about something similar to war. It's the war. Why do you think there's a war going on, or why do you think it's the worlds they depict resembles war times?
I don't know.
Yes?
I don't know.
No, I know, but someone else was going to say something, I think. No? Right, I think the easiest way to think about it is how do you think the world would be if we continued in it's not going to happen, okay, because things are becoming a bit better, and especially if we finally get some sort of cure for for coronavirus, for the COVID-19, we will probably come through okay. But what if there was no cure for the virus, and instead of the unfortunate 300,000 people, over 300,000 people who died across the world, it would be 3 million, for example, or 30 million, or 3 billion. Half the population of the world, for example, died. And how do you think the world would be?
So strange.
Strange in what way? What do you think we would have to do?
To keep in house.
Yeah, we would have to. But if you stay at home,
house, you cannot leave.
Exactly. If you stay at home for too long, then how do you earn the money to buy food?
And all the world would be like if all the people keep up home, nobody is going to be in
Nobody
charge
does
of the
anything.
supermarkets.
That's
or
right. So what happens is that well, we're playing with the imagination, but the steps that's what happens in the story, that the author is playing with an imaginary world in which people start to get sick, therefore and die, and therefore there are fewer people doing their jobs. Then there's fewer foods. There's less and less food, and so there starts a war to get food. And so there's a point where food is finished. In fact, they talk about with the temperature rise and change, the crops. You know what crops are?
Yes.
Growing food is no longer an option because the extreme weather conditions don't allow it. It spoils everything that they try to grow, they try to plant. So it's basically apocalypse. Have you ever watched The Walking Dead?
No.
No?
But I know about it.
You know about it. So, and if you've seen, just 5 minutes of an episode, you know what they're up against. What's going on there in the series is not people in their homes, having normal lives. It's people being nomads, basically, moving from one part of the country to another, and surviving, building, like in the story, building a perimeter around a camp or of sorts or something, and always watching for what comes from outside, because well, basically, if the virus, in this case, in the shape of zombies, gets inside, they're all done for. They all die. So yeah, survival stories, basically, and that's what those are the steps, I think, that the author imagines and also tells us. Anyway, so my next question was, how many degrees, so is related to the temperature, how many degrees Celsius was 98 degrees Fahrenheit? Because we, as the audience will know, in Spain, which is where we're talking from, we use Celsius for to describe the temperature. So we have no idea in most cases we have no idea what Fahrenheit means. I happen to know because I've been in the US, and I had to either I never had a temperature in the US, but I had to speak about the weather and about how hot or cold it was. So I had to learn how to translate my Celsius degrees into Fahrenheit. So yes,
36.6.
That's right, which means
it's a not tropical.
Exactly. It's a tropical weather, basically. Yes. Temperature. Very good. And if we looked at the typical climate, the typical nowadays, the actual climate in Houston, Texas, is not tropical at all. In fact, the tropics are much further down into the Caribbean, for example. So it's as if you're thinking, oh, okay, so if the weather in the middle ring of the Earth has expanded up and down, that means all the Earth is becoming hotter, basically, which is what most people who are worried about the environment worry about, or try to warn us about, that if the temperature of the Earth is actually rising at this point, there will be a moment in which some parts of the world will no longer be available for living, for humans to live in them. There will be more deserts and stuff like that. Yes. So that's a problem. Now, the next question was that what do we know about the narrator's gender and sexual preference? It's never mentioned specifically, but there are some clues to understand some of the things that happen in the story, especially towards the end.
She's a woman that likes women.
That's right. She's a woman whose sexual preference is other women as well, at least in the story. We don't know whether she is bisexual or not, but she is in a relationship with another woman who is also alive in the story and is there safe, as it were, with her. Why does she think, Kate, that woman she's with, that she's going to die? Why is she obsessed with the idea that she's going to die? Do you remember? Maybe this one is.
Is the next question?
Yes, sorry.
Because she was a non-eater.
That's right. Very good. They divide in the story, in the imaginary world of the story. They divide humans or people who are still alive into people who have decided to become cannibals. In other words, to eat human flesh and meat. And people who don't want to go in there, don't want to cross that line, and would rather live fewer years. So that's how extreme this story is. They say to themselves, I would rather die, let's say, and not have to live. What's the point of living 100 years, say, when the latter 50 years of my life are going to be in survival mode? There's nothing worth living anymore. That's what those people must be thinking. And they decide not to eat meat, not to eat human meat. So they call them non-eaters, because we like to live. That's a very good, intelligent device by Maureen McHugh, the author, because I think we humans, and especially in America, which is where the author is from, we love to label things. We love to always put labels to things. So if you like women and you're a woman, you are branded a lesbian. If you like both men and women, no matter your gender, you are a bisexual or pansexual, or you see my point, which makes no sense to me. I would rather, be Ruben, an individual, and then tell you my story about who I like, if I want to, right? Who I like. We talked about this in class as well when we talked about non-binary people who decide not to be branded as women or men, or people who are also in transition because they were born women or men, physically speaking, but they are in transition to being the one of the others, because they feel that way inside, even though outside they look as a man or a woman. We talked about this, if you remember. So anyway, labeling and stuff. So non-eaters again. So yeah, she thinks she's going to die because when all that is left for humans to eat and to live on is other humans who have died, then if you decide not to eat humans, what's going to happen to you?
Can you repeat?
Yes, sorry. If the only food option is human meat, and you say, I don't want to eat human meat, what's going to happen to you?
You're gonna die.
Then you're gonna die.
You are going to die. So she knows she's going to die.
Or another, you're gonna die.
Yes, exactly. At one point, you are going to die because you will not be eating enough. So you'll be essentially more tired. You will die of starvation. You know what starvation is? Starving is dying of hunger, basically. Okay, so the next question was, after reading, now that you know all the events of the story, what do you think about the order in which it is told? Now, we talked about writing short stories ourselves, and you guys did a wonderful job at that. And we talked about sometimes short stories not following a chronological order in the order the events are told or unfolded, and that we sometimes can even feel that a story is more intelligently told when it's not told in order of when the events happened. So you, the reader, are constantly looking forward to more and more of the explanation they give you to understand what's going on at a previous scene in the story. So the story starts with someone cutting someone else because they are going to cook them later, and in the end you understand all of that because they give you the events, all the information leading to that. This is something that we see every day in films, series, books, in arts in general, that talk about deal with storytelling. But what do you think about that, telling a story like that?
I think that is better to start with a sentence of the end because it's more interesting.
Mm-hmm. It makes
Because
you want to keep reading.
For example, if the title doesn't, you don't like it, but you read that, you are going to be interested of the story, and you are going to read until you find that sentence or something like that.
That's right. Very good. Until you find the explanation for what you don't understand. So it's a very clever thing that, because I know if you're reading something for me, it's even when we tell stories, I think to our friends, it's more interesting when you tell a story from the juicy part, from the most shocking part, and then tell you all the details that led to it, than if I start from the beginning. If I start telling you, so let me tell you about my teacher in school. Last year, we had a teacher in school that, if I start like that, maybe for a few seconds you will listen to me, but if I don't say anything interesting, you will lose that attention. And obviously you will stop listening to me. But if I start telling you, if I start saying, last year we had a teacher who one day peed his pants, for example, or he broke a door, slamming it, and you will tell me, oh, now I'm interested because that is funny or is humiliating, let's say, or is a bit ridiculous. So let me hear about the events that precipitated that event happening, right? That happening. Anyway, so Lola agrees with how the story is told. When you guys were writing your own stories, was it difficult to think of something to start with to tell your story?
Yes, to start, yes, but you can search in internet about things. So
cool. That's also a very good way. I wonder what writers would say about that, about using the internet. But I'm interested. Maybe they do the same thing. They look for prompts on the internet to get them started, to get them motivated and inspired, as it were. So when does this particular story start, would you say? Within the story? Start, middle, end? Do they start at the beginning of everything? Do they start in the middle of it or at the end?
In the middle.
Yeah, in the middle. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's in the middle because They tell you some things that belong to the past within the story, so it's not the beginning, obviously, because they tell you some things that are the beginning of that story. And then they, as it were, with the narrative, with the story, we catch the present time. And once we have all the explanation to explain the present time, only then do they continue and move on to tell you the end of the story. Now, this is something, like I said, it's a device that many authors across storytelling in any format use, but I think it still works because it's the way we would like to hear a story and we are more interested. Now, do you think the story is realistic? Is my last question.
No.
No, why not?
No, it's fiction.
It's fiction. But one thing, we're not saying is the story real. We're saying is the story realistic in how it's told. Would you believe it, even though it's you know it's not real, but would you believe it? Or do you say, I don't buy that?
Maybe some things of the story.
Like what?
Yes.
Like the virus.
Like the virus is obviously based on something that's actually happened. So
and that it occurs, it happens in a real place.
That's right. It happens in a real place. So again, what do you think makes a story something you can believe? And
with real things.
That's right. If you base your story on real things, then it's easy and things people know. It's easier to digest. Let's say. I think it connects better with people who are reading it, and you attract a wider audience just on the strength that people know those things, and so get attracted by them. Say, oh, I'd like to imagine what happened, what could happen to Houston if the virus continues to spread like this. So maybe if only because of that. Now I ask you that question because do you think this story could have been read or would have been read the same way by us had there not been a pandemic? Do you think you would have related to the story as much?
No.
Probably not. That's right. In fact, I wouldn't even have picked, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I would have picked that story to read in class, actually, because, it simply has it bears no resemblance to what we are living now, so it means nothing to us, really. If it's just another science fiction story, and if it's too far away from our reality, then I think you have to use your imagination more, which is not a bad thing per se, but obviously I have to think and try to find stories that will connect with you guys and that will get you inspired to talk about things. Did you like the story?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did it inspire any of you to write your own story? Did you base your stories on that? No?
No.
Not really? What were your stories about?
I don't know.
About a dreamer.
About a dream? Dreamer?
A dream.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, you don't remember? Juanita? Do you remember what your story was about?
No. I don't remember.
It was a long time. It feels like it was a long time ago, doesn't it? I think it's
yes.
28th of April. I'm reading here. So yeah, it's been over a month now, but not much longer than that, really. So yeah, it's amazing how we don't remember things that happened only a month and some or so ago. Because
we have done a lot of more studies.
That's right.
I remembered it.
We've done a lot of assignments. You guys have done a lot of assignments for many subjects. And also because don't you feel like sometimes like online learning is harder?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow at... When do we have class tomorrow? 12, at this time actually, tomorrow. More or less.
Yes.
Great. Thank you and have a great day.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Ruben.
See you.
See ya. That was it for third of ESO A. My students in third of ESO A who were normally so talkative today, obviously, as you could see, you know, it's harder and harder. I get it. It's really hard to keep motivated at this time of year, especially when there are so little things to talk about other than the virus, how things are in the country, politics, yeah, which are not looking good anywhere across the world. Anyway, I don't want to sound too negative, so if you're listening to this, try to ignore the last couple of sentences. What I was trying to say is that it's not easy for them to keep active. Also, this was obviously more denser than other things, but I think it was very interesting when we discussed the story to read their answers. Some of them did a very, very deep analysis. For someone who studied literature in college, myself, it was very gratifying to find that my students, new generations, do care about arts and literary criticism and stuff. So yeah, it was very interesting. Okay, next up is within 5 or 10 minutes. I have my first of batch students, and we'll talk about evil.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Agresti in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home? Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students. With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
Do you hate shopping and having to buy many different colored t-shirts? Because here we bring you a color 10 t-shirt for every day.
Valley FM. It's not the Valley of the Fallen, it's the Valley of the Rockers.
Have you ever dreamed of being able to know what someone is thinking? Imagine knowing everything that people think of you without them really knowing that you read their thoughts. Here at Valley FM, we bring you an app called Did You Know That? Download it now.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Agresti in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home? Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students. With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
Hey, did you hear Valley FM's back?
That's groovy.
We have the alternative for your bad days. If you come to see us in the playground, we will have ballots available for all of you. You will get them for €2.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
There is a novelty in the market. The new Reuben juice comes full of vitamins so that children never get tired of playing and never stop speaking English. Have you ever dreamed of being able to know what someone is thinking? Imagine knowing everything that people think of you without them really knowing that you read their thoughts. Here at Valley FM, we bring you an app called Did You Know That? Download it now.
Are you tired of watching Netflix alone? Did you cry watching The Kissing Booth? Do you want a Marco Diaz or Adriana Agreste in your life? Do you spend more time in the friend zone than in your own home? Then download Salupa, a dating app for El Valle students. With this app, you will find your own Noah Flynn. Salupa, the best choice for your lonely life.
Do you think your parents might kill you if they go to your tutorial? Do you want to be able to leave early whenever you want? Then you should hire our services. We offer actors to play your mother or father and go to your tutorials instead of your real ones. And give you fake permission to leave early.
Only for a small fee.
Call us.
Are you struggling to pass that stupid subject? Do you need some help with the next exam?
We have the best cheat notes of Cannibal. We cover everything from ESO exams to BACH B exams.
Buy two and receive a free German cheat note. Brutal cheat notes. Simply brutal.
Es la leche.
Psst. Hey you. Yes, you. The one who's hearing this. Is your backpack too heavy? Your back hurts, you have bad posture, and you also feel like you get smaller every time you carry it? Say goodbye to all these problems with our new robot, the multifunctional charger. It has a platform that will carry your backpack without you noticing. It also comes with a built-in system that will straighten your back in 3 weeks of continuous use. Request it right now for only 120 euros. And
now with us at 12, I have my class with first of Baccalaureate B. You remember them? They are the last Thursday they explained how we developed our drama club together during the third term. This basically the quarantine term. We can label it because we love labeling things as we explained in the previous hour. So today with them I'd like to talk about evil, where evil comes from, why some people are evil, and what have you, really. Questions. I'd love to ask questions to get my students thinking, really. Teachers are all the same, I think, across the world. We love questions, don't we? Hello guys, how's it going? It's good to see you, to see so many of you actually. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
It's hilarious, Alice, to hear your ad. I don't know if you remember it, but you had an ad with, I think her name was Maria, from 2 years ago, that you guys recorded for a substitute parents to go to your teacher interviews.
Oh shit!
Yes. It sounds every day. It's been on every day in every break, I think.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh,
Only for a small fee.
It.
What? Say
I
again?
completely forgot.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I didn't remember that ad until I started the other day. Re-downloading all the material for the radio from 2 years ago, because it was stored up there in the files that we saved. So yeah, I'm letting out every secret, but I haven't really. For anyone who's listening and thinks that, well, there are obviously some new ads, but most of the ads I'm playing are 2 years old, really, because, well, simply, if you're a fan of the show, you will find them.
Listen to it though.
Yeah. It's funny if you're inside, I guess. What's that? What was that, Alice? Say again.
No, it wasn't me. It was someone
sorry.
else.
Someone else was saying something. Matty? I don't know who it was.
No.
Anyway, I hope everybody's doing all right, and I thank you very much for coming. If your parents are forcing you to, then I thank your parents. Because, you know, speaking to myself, it's fun, but sometimes it can be too much, I guess. So, anyway, today I'd like to talk about something I may have discussed with some of you already. I'm not sure, because, as you know, some of you used to be my students back in the day, before I left for the Dominican Republic last year, but not all of you have. Some of you are my students for the first time this year. So there's a debate that I've had, or that I had a couple years ago with some of you, I think, which I'd like to rehash and present here today, which is, why are we evil? Why does evil exist? And let me explain what I mean by evil. Sometimes, if well, we see crimes that we cannot even begin to understand, like when we see someone kill someone, basically, like last week's death of George Floyd, for example. Why do things like that happen? Why is someone asking for forgiveness, or for their lives, basically, to be respected, and yet the person who can make that happen goes through with a homicide, basically, with the killing? Why do you think that happens? Things like that, not just this particular episode, but in general. Why do you think there are serial criminals, for example?
Because people think the life has been bad with them, and like they say, I'm gonna revolt against the life.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's some kind of response to how life has been treating you?
In cases, yes.
In some cases, yes. Yeah, I agree with you, and it's true that there are many different cases. In fact, some we would have to find clinical or medical a medical explanation for, because there is a thing called a psychopath or sociopath, which is also some people are unable to value life because there's something. But
that opens a debate too, because like there's sociopaths or psychopaths or whatever that don't go around killing people.
That's right.
So like,
very good.
Does that illness actually like make them kill somebody?
Yeah. It's no excuse, as you were saying. So yeah.
Ruben, what I want to say is that you started with the example of the policeman who killed George Floyd, and now you go to a psycho killer, a serial killer, that I don't think there's like two different reasons why they kill. One is because he's a racist, and the other one is because he enjoys killing for.
Yeah. Obviously, I know. Yeah, there are many different reasons for killing, and it's not. I'm not just talking about killing. I think raping is even a worse crime in from an ethical point of view, I think in general, being mean to others is also, or not disrespecting other people, insulting them, humiliating them is also, if not, you can't brand it a crime, but it's also evil. So what we're dealing with here today is evil in general. The evil people do, that we all do sometimes, because sometimes it's involuntary and you can be mean to someone else. But I'm more interested in evil that is voluntary, let's say, that is chosen, that is on purpose. I'm interested in that. Why does that exist? What was the question? Javi said that it exists because one of the explanations is that people are have been mistreated by life and have decided to take that path of giving back, let's say, all the pain they had to suffer. Another explanation, Elisa said, was Elisa said, I said that is medical, and Elisa said that that's even though that's no excuse, obviously that happens. There are cases of people who decide to kill, being sociopaths, and people decide to be they can't decide to be a sociopath, but even though they are sociopaths or psychopaths, they don't kill anyone. Are there any more reasons can you think of for
think
people?
there's also like passion crimes, when you are mad at somebody because you love them, and then you just try to like confront them, and it just gets out of hands, and somebody ends up dead.
But would you say that it's evil as well, or just an impulse? Would you say people are intentionally evil there?
I mean, they're not intentionally evil, but they have got to have something evil in them. Because, like, if you truly love that person and you're not evil,
there's something that stops you, before you do something.
You're hurting them, you stop.
Yes, at least most of us would like to think that there are some sort of mechanisms before some things can get out of hand, right? Yeah, I tend to agree with you. However, there are sometimes in the news you can see examples of things getting out of hand too easily, let's say, or too far, so much so that you can think that you can't really imagine why it's happened like that. So yeah. And also, I'd like to say I'm very happy you said that I understood you say passion crimes, because at first I thought you'd said fashion crimes, and I thought you were going to talk about people dressing outrageously badly. Yeah, so I agree with you. Some people are crime offenders in fashion. So some people dress in a way that is an insult to the human race.
Yeah, and then people just go around killing each other because of how they dress.
Exactly, that could be an explanation for people killing each other as well. How badly someone dresses. No, I'm actually, obviously this is all jokes. So coming back to the to serious business, let's say, why do you think we choose to be one or the other? Because I think it's all down to a choice. I think I, as a human being, with my reasoning, however good it is or bad, I have the capacity to choose between what's good and what's evil. Obviously, if I have been equipped, let's say, in my childhood with strong, let's say, boundaries between what's good and what's right and what's wrong. So why do we choose to be
I honestly think that not we don't always have a choice.
I think yes, like our ethical values will decide for us, I think.
But I think that sometimes people do evil things in the name of good things. like maybe they think that what they're doing is good, but in the eyes of the rest of the society, is evil.
That's right. I'm thinking of, and you don't get scared, but I'm thinking of terrorist attacks,
Yeah,
for
me too.
example.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, it depends on the perspective, but for
But because they are blind for something.
yes,
Yeah.
but they could from their perspective, they could think that we are blind.
Yeah.
No, but in the cases of terrorist attacks, it's sometimes because something of their religion, that they are taught to this is like this, and they clean their brains, saying in that way.
Yeah.
To think that what we do is wrong and what they do is good.
Yeah, but that goes back to what Alice was saying. Some people can look for an excuse or a justification to do what they do, even though it's essentially an evil act in the eyes of morality. Let's say in from an ethical point of view, taking someone's life, for example.
But the religion is like the interpretation of it.
Uh-huh.
And that is something yours. No one is going to say you have to think like this or you have to think like that.
Yeah.
Like the people who kills, I think that looks that for an excuse or something, because there is so much people that supports that religion and is not a terrorist. Like I think the terrorists are the one who kills, not the religion part.
I think they're like fanatics of their own religion, and that's why they kill, because they take it way too far.
Yeah. And people that surround them that also support that idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. Great. Now, what do you think separates us? And when I say us, I mean, well, we're not in jail, so I take it we are not. Obviously, I think every act could be divided into right or wrong, into good or evil. So, but a number of decisions to be evil or a number of decisions to be good puts you on one or the other side of the spectrum, I think, of being good or evil. So, in our society nowadays, it's safe to say, I think, that most people who have crossed the line are now in jail. Let's say, if not most people, at least some of them. There are obviously exceptions. Not everybody who's in jail is evil. Not everybody who is out of jail is good. But we could say that that's a good way to separate, for example, people who have committed rape, murder, thievery, even robbery, have made evil choices or have had an evil mindset at some point or other, or maybe they are evil in nature. Now, what separates you and me, who are not in jail, from them? And I don't mean jail.
Well, first, I think that the society penalize more physical aggressions than mental or like the superiority to how do you say hundir?
Humiliate, for example, or to sink.
Humiliate someone for you to be better or to think to be better than that. The physical contact is penalized more than that.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And sometimes the humiliation is harder than a physical aggression.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that what separates us from that people is the capacity to do something or to. We all have thing. Sometimes I will kill that man, or he's stupid. I will something. and we control us, like the control we have on us.
Yeah, that's what Elisa was talking about earlier. I think there is a point in which something inside of you tells you now it's time to stop. Yes, now it's time to stop. To some people, obviously, that point is comes sooner or more quickly. And some people, you know, maybe they don't realize first, and then they take longer to realize they're hurting someone. But I think,
or they realize when they see they have hurt someone.
Yeah, when it's too late.
Too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with Hannah in that the law only like pretty much punishes physical violence, because I think that we could be like, not all of us, but some people, like more people would be in jail if they penalize emotional violence as well.
There'll be more people in jail than out of it.
Probably, because like sometimes that hurts way more than just being like beat up by somebody.
Mm-hmm. So then how would you penalize that? How would you?
That's the problem. You can't decide to penalize that or not. Like everyone is.
What if you
is their own?
by words provoke someone's death, like suicide and all the stuff?
Yeah.
I don't understand, Carol. Can you explain that again?
Like you bully someone, never with physical contact, but like you psychologically destroy that person, so that person dies. Basically, it commits suicide.
Yeah. You induce them to suicide.
For that death. You should be punished for that death.
Like, it's true you didn't like break any bones or do anything like that, but you, what was that?
Yeah.
You didn't like break any bones or like punch anybody, but you destroyed them in a way that was beyond that.
Yeah,
and they ended up having to do what you couldn't do.
Yeah, that is if you did it with even if you didn't, I would say, but if you did it with the intention to hurt, then that we should look into that as something to improve, and to, I mean, I think we should punish that. I think we should, as a society, as Hannah is saying, try to also punish verbal aggressions and especially emotional aggressions over time. And well, we try to in education, for example, in our little world of schools, we try to prevent bullying from happening, although it's really difficult. But we try to prevent it and diagnose it from an early stage, so we can act and punish whoever it is we have to punish.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not as easy.
Yeah, sometimes
because it's really subtle. You don't really see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it could be in private when nobody else could see it, and then they would like tell you not to tell anybody. And I know it's very like cliche, and everyone would say like, go speak to somebody, they're not gonna hurt you and stuff. But when you are frightened of someone, you're not gonna think like, oh, he can't physically hurt me. Like, you're frightened, you're just not gonna tell anybody.
Yeah. Fear does that to you. It's true. You would rather not get in more trouble. So obviously the logical thing to do then is not to come out, not to speak, not to talk about it, because if you try to think of something else,
yeah, you think it's better to let it off and pass, to not happen again or something, and then the same until you can't more and you explode.
But like, also I think that what the school can't do is know who to believe. Because even if you did come out and go like, hey, this has been happening, how does the school know who
if
to believe?
It's true or not?
And not only teachers, students, they're gonna pick sides. And if they pick the side, like the wrong side for say, that will hurt way more the person that was being bullied in the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And also, how do they know if what's the right way or like the right place? Because maybe
It's hard, yeah.
Someone is saying that thing, but you don't believe them, and then the other one denies it. Like you don't know the truth.
Yeah, it's somebody's word against somebody else's.
The ones who really knows is the buller, and the bullying are the one that is bullying.
We say bully, the bully, not the buller. But it's
The
a
bully and
good
the one
interesting
is
thing.
in bullying.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's difficult to see, as we're saying. It's very invisible in many cases, but if noticed, we should do something. It's definitely something we should do something about. Yeah. So coming back to the to what separates us from, let's say, in this case, I don't want to go into bullying only, but now that we're talking about it, we could say, and it's been argued, that bullies are nothing but someone who has either previously been bullied themselves, maybe in or out of school, or also someone who is simply trapped in a toxic circle, let's say, and they cannot have positive relationships with anybody because they have no skills. They have no social skills to approach people in a more positive way, in a better way. So, what can we do to change that? What can we do to, because as you said before, as you said earlier, Elisa, there are people who are sociopaths who do not kill, for example. So by the same rule of thumb, we can think that there are people who have been evil, who have made evil choices and have been on the evil side, who have come back to the not back, because we're not all born good, I think, but who have decided to move over to the other side and be good. So
I think as persons we have the opportunity to change, and a second opportunity in life, or third or fourth, but we have to be responsible with the acts we have committed.
Yeah, very good.
And if you are someone that, I don't know, a criminal or something like that, for that is justice. Like you punish, you have to be punished, and if you change, it's okay. New in the life, you're a new person.
Yeah.
But if not,
you may be a new person, but if you think about it, once you've been punished by the law, it goes to your criminal record. It follows you through your whole life. It's like you may have changed
for it.
for good, but what you've done will follow you forever.
Yeah. Well,
but you
Like
have the opportunity of
and,
changing.
Like also the person you have done it to, that would stay forever with that person.
Yeah.
And also, I think it goes with what Hannah was saying, that we have to be consequent. So if you do it, I mean, you have to know that a part of doing it is gonna be that you're gonna be like marked by that forever.
I think everyone that does something know the consequences of doing it, and if they don't want to see them, it's something wrong.
Yeah.
But you have to be consequent with that what you are doing.
That's true, but we talk about them going to the good side or being good again or something like that. But then we make them be responsible for something they've done maybe once or twice for their whole life.
Well, it depends.
It depends on the crime, obviously, but if it's not that much, like maybe they it was theft,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe they weren't even in jail. They just paid the fee and then just
Yes,
left.
but
And
that's what Hannah was saying. That's what justice is for. Justice decides how big or how serious your crime was, and depending on how serious it was, you will have one sentence or other. So I think you can agree more or less with the sentences there are, but that's another topic, I think. But in general terms, we cannot say that in society or in Spain, in Spanish society, that every sentence is the same. If you break the law, it's the same. Whether you don't wear a mask, for example, now, or you kill someone, that it's the same thing. That you get put to jail and that's it.
No.
So I think it is more or less adjusted. I'm not going into if it's well adjusted or not. I'm just saying that it is adjusted to the type of crime that you do, or at least the intention is that there is a whole system in place, trying to make sure that crimes and punishments are more or less balanced. And again, it's the eternal debate of some crimes are worse than others from a moral point of view. Yet they don't cost that person that number of years, for example. But yeah, I am with Hannah. I think what Alice is trying to say is, shouldn't a person who has already paid for their crime be absolved of it, let's say, or be allowed to erase that from their lives if they want to be given a second chance. But at the same time, Alice. I mean, I am with Hannah. If you've done your whatever it is you've done, it's already too late to change. Whether you have stolen some goods or you have killed someone, it shouldn't be forgotten, because we're not talking about making a mistake. Like, for example, if I say something wrong now, I am making a mistake, and it will have some impact on you guys. For example, there will be a misunderstanding for a few minutes, and then I will say, "Oh, I made a mistake," and then I can fix that, and the cost is not much. But what about when you make the mistake of driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol? That's the mistake, but then you kill someone. The consequences of your mistake are not the same. So you cannot just say, well, it was a mistake, so why not give him a second chance? Yes, the second chance is there for them, but we can never forget what he did.
And that the consequences.
I mean, I know. I'm not saying about forgetting it. I'm saying that if they have lived through all this for a long time, like what you're saying, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and it just so happens that you get into an accident because of those drugs, or because you are tipsy or whatever, and someone dies because of it.
Yeah.
You were in your sound mind, you made a mistake about it, and I'm very sure that if it's a human being, they will feel like incredibly guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is
I don't know, it's like I feel like if they have to live their whole lives being frowned upon by others when they learned about it.
Yeah, that is too much of a punishment. You think that is torture for the rest of their lives?
And also that the
getting a job or personal relationships.
Punish for the rest of your life rather than punish for your action.
The consequence of doing something bad is not just the punishment. Is that you have to get with that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's not that just the punishment and you do it bad, you have to be 2 years at prison. Not is that you have to live with that and you have to accept that you have done something bad.
But what if you didn't mean to do it?
Sorry, but you did it.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, but then
just
you
about
didn't
sums it up,
choose to do it. It's like
maybe I trip and fall and push someone else.
But again,
And that someone else dies.
But that's
Justice is
again,
for
that's
that.
for the judge to decide, to investigate.
Why? The judge is another human like us.
Yes, and they can make mistakes, and that sometimes happens. But there has to be someone, because now I tell you, okay, I will answer your question with another question. What if you try to lie to me and tell me that you fell and you tripped and fell, and that it was all some part of an accident, but it wasn't?
Or
You
that
know
is
what I
the
mean?
police. Or that is the police.
That's why we have a system to investigate whether it was an accident or not. And depending on the result and your actions, we decide. Obviously, it's not perfect. We all know it's not perfect. Sometimes you get very, very unfair fines for things that you think, well, this is not that bad. But obviously, it's not for you to decide, because if we leave it to people's opinions, to how subjective you think about it giving
Be in
crime.
the jail.
Yeah, but my point isn't like, fuck the police. I don't give a fuck.
No, I know.
I shouldn't. Judges shouldn't exist. No, my point is like, if you have lived with something like for so long, you've paid for it. You've gone to jail for how many years the judge decides. After you've served your sentence, you've paid whatever you've had to pay.
I know what you mean. You still have a criminal record
and your time, your years of life.
And your criminal record is going to haunt you for the rest of your for the rest of your life. I know what you mean, but it is what it is. You've done that, so, and there's no, you cannot give that those families, for example, that you hurt so badly, you cannot give them back the person they lost, that you took from them. So I think
I know, but we're going back to extreme cases where someone died. Like, I do understand it in those cases.
Yeah, you're thinking of maybe drunk driving and
in small cases,
losing
you
your
are not
job for
going
it.
to arrest that the rest of your life. Like, it's not something very, very extreme.
I think can you listen? I think in some cases it expires, like a time.
Yeah. So the crime, I agree
like,
with you.
with drunk driving, like, yes, you did it, but after a period of like some years, it expires, for saying it like that. Yeah, that's
Well,
what I think.
when you drink and you're going to a party, you will think, "Oh fuck, I don't have to drink if I'm going to drive
later
now."
Yeah,
And
like you
you remember that.
Thanks to the system, you're trying to say, Hannah, that because the
like
fines
the
are so.
punishment is as hard as you can remember it for the rest of your life.
I agree with you, because even in that case, even it being the way it is, sometimes we as in people forget, and we still see in the news that someone was run over and killed in a car accident because the driver was drunk or asleep, which is terrible.
You have to punish that for the people that can repeat it, or to stop that situation.
I don't know if you've well, I don't think you've read it, because it's a difficult read, but it's very interesting, and you guys would be doing yourselves a favor if you read it. There's this very famous novel, one of the best novels in international world literature. It's called Crime and Punishment by the great 19th writer Fyodor Dostoevsky. He's a Russian writer.
That remembers me to a series of TV.
Yeah, called.
Yeah, something like
that. Law and Order, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Pairs of words like that. this and that. Yeah, that obviously the title has been copied or imitated, but what the book is about is there is this. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but in case you want to read it, but it explores all these questions with a story. So it's not a philosophical read or anything. It is at some points, but it's a story. It's a novel. It's a narrative. So there is this student who decides to take someone's life at the beginning of the book, and he is convinced that he's doing the world a favor. Basically, he's not an evil person in the sense that he's convinced himself that what he's doing is a good thing for his own reasons. So when he finally understands, and that's the evolution of that character in the novel is something beautiful to read, really, because it's very well depicted, and there's no one like Dostoevsky who understands the human mind, or can put it into words, basically, Russian words, but words all the same. I was saying the evolution of that character, and he's finally realizing what he's done and the effect it has had, and how irreversible it is. When he finally understands that, it's that's his punishment. That is his punishment. Now he has to live for the rest of his life knowing that he did something horrendous. Now that he's aware of it. So at the start of the novel, he did it, and he lived at ease with himself. He was okay with it, let's say, more than okay. In fact, he was proud of having done that, because he thinks that was something that needed to be done. But at the end, towards the end, he is a much different person. So obviously, like I said, the novel explores the things Hannah was saying about people converting from one side to another, and giving people second chances, obviously, is what we've been discussing here. Anyway, do yourselves a favor and read that book before you die at some point in your lives. Do that.
Coming back to what you asked like 30 minutes ago now, what could we do to like avoid all of this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I think that a part of like, obviously, as like normal people of society, helping our friends and stuff, like psychologists, like recommending them to go to see a psychologist if they've got any problem of like wanting to kill somebody like seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most important, like the way that will make the most difference is with parents. Like if parents actually taught kids things, not only by saying like this is good, this is bad, but like by showing them with their own actions. Because
being an example for
it doesn't do anything if you just say this is bad, but then you go and do it anyways.
Yeah.
Your kid is gonna see that, and if it's a kid, the one that makes something like does something illegal, you cannot blame the kid. You have to blame their parents.
Yeah.
And I believe that even if it's like our age, maybe it's not the kid's fault. It's like the parents' fault.
It's how they've been taught and brought up, and how they. Yeah, I think we started establishing that your choices are also a result of the equipment you have up here, and obviously that equipment is put when you're a child, is given you by someone, obviously. The adults in your environment, everybody really can have an effect in the earliest years of your stages of your life. I think everybody who is accountable for their actions can be an example in a good or bad way to you to what you do. Anyway,
Yeah,
very
I
good.
also agree. I agree with Elisa. Like the example of your parents is as much as the education you receive at the school.
I think it's more important because you love parents.
You want
don't
to be like them.
respect anyone at school.
Yeah.
Javi, I think you wanted to say something.
Me, no, I don't say nothing.
Okay. Okay, so by way of conclusion to this topic, would you like to say, do you think that the system we have works? That we have a good system to, if not prevent evil, to at least try to keep evil separated from good, or preserve good and punish evil, or if obviously not perfect, but do you think we have a system that works?
We've got a system.
Isn't what you said yesterday before, like the justice being fair or not? That's the theme.
It's a whole new debate.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, is that right?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me today for this. I think it was by far the most interesting thing we've done today in the show, if you've been listening. And thank you very much for participating and enriching it so much. I'll see you guys next Wednesday, I think, at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Until then, have a great start of the week, and peace be with you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
So.
Yeah, bye.
And to everybody who has been listening to us today, for even 10 minutes or however long it's been for you, I'd like to say thank you. I'd also like to encourage everybody who likes the show to give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment in the comment section under the video. Obviously, that is highly appreciated. When we can feel that there's people on the other side, especially because it gives us the sense that we are doing something that other people find interesting. So please let us know if you do find it interesting. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much. That was Valley FM for today. Bye.
Do you remember when what is happening. Give me an opportunity. You said that you belong to me. Now you are ignoring me.